Wow, hey, pura vida. ¿Qué me dice mi gente? How you guys doing? Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, that time of the week again. They're flying right by us these days, right? Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate you guys taking the time to do that every time, out of your day and be here. These days has been kind of busy, so going live has kind of helped me be able to stay productive and not have to like record and edit and do all this other stuff that takes extra long. But what I wanted to do today was basically go over some of the information we've gone over regarding the different inscriptions, the old world inscriptions they found here in America. I got a lot of little excerpts from different videos that I've gathered, and then I also have some new stuff I recorded here and there. I'll mix that up. I'm gonna be all over the place. Also, I thought it was pretty cool because we just went over the Ireland information, and I was saying a lot in the video that, remember, they're coming from the true old world. All right, all these people. So, and I was also saying that a lot of the inscriptions and the writing is actually more archaic, a more classic form of it found here in the Americas than what they're finding in Europe and Asia. Yeah, you guys didn't know that. We're gonna go over that a little bit again today. So again, thanks for tuning in and being here. Appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hopefully everybody comes with respect, and we're here to build. Try not to get too off topic and distract others, because yeah, it's a chat, but let's try to stay on topic. It's not just a public chat just for chatting. It does distract people and create discussions, so we're going to try to avoid that. All right, shout out to all the moderators. Thank you for always helping. And let me see what I got here. So I had this presentation. I was gonna actually do it on Dr. Longo's channel and some other interview I was gonna do, and so I had put it together and I wasn't able to use it. Put in screen share when I was on with him, and I added some stuff too, but I didn't want it to go to waste. Also, got a lot of new people, guys. A lot of people asking me questions. So bear with me. All right, you got your tea ready. That's what's up. All right, make sure to like and share the video. That helps a lot. If you haven't hit like yet, make sure to hit like always. All right, it says here, Old World inscriptions in America before Columbus. All right, so before we begin, we're just gonna get a quick word from Barry Fell, the writer of American BC. And then we're gonna go into a full video of that, but just wanna go over some points real quick. All right, again, I told you I'm gonna be all over the place. This is the book, America BC, Ancient Settlers in the New World by Barry Fell. There is more to Americans' past than appears upon the surface. A strange unrest is apparent among many of the younger historians and archaeologists of the colleges and universities. A sense that somehow a very large slice of America's past has mysteriously vanished from our public records. For how else can we explain the ever-swelling tally of puzzling ancient inscriptions now being reported from nearly all parts of the United States, Canada, and Latin America? The inscriptions are written in various European and Mediterranean languages, in alphabets that date from 2,500 years ago. And they speak not only of visits by ancient ships, but also of permanent colonies of Celts, Basque, Libyans, and even Egyptians. All right, so again, what he's saying is they found all this writing here, all these inscriptions of all these ancient people. A lot of this dates back to 2,500 years, he's telling you. Now, if America is the true old world, then he might be seeing it backwards and reverse. Continuing, it says they occur on buried temples, on tablets, and on gravestones and on cliff faces From some of them, we infer that the colonists intermarried with the Amerindians, and so their descendants still live here today. There was once a time when such finds were attributed to the misguided folly of uprooted colonists from Europe, to forgers or cranks fabricating tradition for a society that has none. But skepticism changed to bewilderment when it was discovered that American inscriptions, some of them known for a century or more, turned out to have been written in ancient scripts of a type only recently deciphered in Europe or North Africa. Okay. Thus, the truth has slowly come to light. Ancient history is inscribed upon the bedrock and buried stone buildings of America, and the only hands that could have inscribed it were those of ancient people. America, as we now realize, is a treasure house of records of man's achievement upon the high seas and bygone ages. Remember the seafarers of America. They're seeing all this in reverse. America's a true old world. True old world. Even more so, our inscribed rocks and tablets, a heritage from a forgotten era of colonization. They tell us of settlers who came from the old world and who remained to become founding fathers of some of the Amerindian nations, all right? These ancient writings can easily be classified into some half-dozen styles, each now known to be associated with one or other of several ancient peoples whose languages have been in part recovered. New inscriptions are being discovered almost every day, from localities thousands of miles apart, usually under circumstances that preclude any possibility of fraud. All right, so as you can see, that's one of the most renowned epigraphical researchers, right? Barry Fell was very involved with the Epigraphical Society, letting you know there's actually more archaic forms here that they're just deciphering in Europe. They didn't even know how to interpret that writing as a more older form of what they got over there. So I'm gonna just continue real quick. Again, I'm just gonna do little extras here and there. Again, this is the Newark Holy Stones. You guys know about this ancient Hebrew writing language, huh? Block Hebrew, as they're calling it. It says here correlations between the Ohio Decalogue stone, monumental Hebrew, Israelite, and Roman characters in the Hebrew letter names, so-called Roman. Who's the Edomians, coming from Esau? Who's Romulus? Is he coming from Esau, mixing with Israelites? How they got the right to rule, like the royal blood, like, you know, it always got to come from. So anyways, let's not get off topic, but as you guys can see, the Newark Holy Stones found in the mounds of Ohio, which contain the Decalogue stone of the Ten Commandments in writing, and that is Moses. That is Moshe, Tling, carrying the tablets. I'm gonna get a little video on that real quick, all right? Getting little extras here and there.
This is one of the earliest maps that we found on the Newark earthworks. This is a drawing by Wyrick from 1860.
David Wyrick had done the first comprehensive surveys of the magnificent Newark earthworks. The first of what came to be known as the Holy Stones was found there, and 5 months later, at the Jacksontown Stone Mound a few miles southeast of Newark, he found something even more amazing.
They found one major earth structure in the center, surrounded by 12 small burials. David Wyrick went straight for the middle one with 9 other gentlemen, and they began to dig that mound down. And they uncovered it. When they did, they found a wooden coffin made out of oak. And opening up that coffin, in there was a large skeleton of a man, but also in this coffin was a little box, maybe about 8 or 10 inches in size, and it was cemented shut. Wyrick and the men, while they're all there together, they pried this box apart, and in it was a black stone. They opened this box, and here was this unusual artifact.
We own the Newark Holy Stones, and these stones were found in a Hopewell mound in the 1860s, and the presumption from finding them was that perhaps the American Indians had some kind of contact with the Hebrews, or possibly they were the Hebrews. That's another idea. So we have the museum has been interested in origins.
They took it to some scholars, identified that it was probably some type of Hebrew. They took it to some rabbis living in the area, and upon looking at it, they said yes, they could read it. And it was a complete rendition of the Ten Commandments. They called it block Hebrew because they could never see anything written like this, but they called it block Hebrew. And so then naysayers started picking on Wyrick. He was accused of sticking this stone in front of these 9 men somehow and being able to hide it and conceal it.
Upon examination, mainstream archaeologists proclaimed the stones a hoax, while many diffusionists continued to believe in their authenticity.
Then it wasn't until sometime in the 1900s, lo and behold, in Israel, they find, guess what? They found block-style Hebrew. That block-style Hebrew was given a name by the experts, monumental Hebrew, because of the way it was written. Long after Wyrick. After.
Mainstream archaeologists dismiss such findings, in part because scientific protocols and rules of evidence were not followed in their acquisition.
Let me show you one more connection. In 1860, David Wyrick, he's a guy who surveyed the Newark earthworks. He was digging into a mound near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak. They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box. It was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by the way, is sitting in Ohio. Well, he opened up the box and he found a little man inside, a little black stone. They took it to scholars and they looked at it. The man seems to be carrying something, and there's writing here at first they couldn't recognize. The writing is, they thought in 1860, some sort of Hebrew. Well, finally, about 20 years later, they found some rabbis living in the area, and the rabbis looked at that, and they could read it. They said it was an old kind of block Hebrew, and it was a rendition of the Ten Commandments. Now,
Later, many other artifacts would turn up that suggested the presence of Middle Eastern cultures in North America.
Protestant priests, Catholic fathers, Jewish rabbis were seeing these possible links between the Native Americans and ancient Israel. These links included written records that had possible tie-ins to the ancient world.
There were certainly religious beliefs, thinking that the Native Americans may have been descendants of some Hebraic, Jewish, Israelite travelers to the Americas at different times, or of other Old World peoples at different times. And there are various things fueling these. There were religious, political, and social agendas.
Perhaps the largest documented religious artifact was this ancient city wall mound, recorded in Squire and Davis's Smithsonian publication entitled Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley.
So to see an artifact like that, or the context in which they would place an artifact like that, would be, especially something found in association with the mounds, would be, oh, that shows to us the presence of these people at that time here in the Americas. They were responsible for creating that artifact. They were responsible for creating the mounds and for introducing various cultural aspects into the Americas.
All right. We're gonna go into this right here. You guys probably heard of this one. Hold on one second. So again, going over some information, some excerpts from older videos, and like I'm gonna show you so many different examples. They found all types of old world writing, like all of them, all the forms of old world writing over here in the Americas, and again, very old archaic styles of it. It says here Phoenician inscriptions on stone in Gaspar, Brazil. All right. As you guys can see, the inscription was found on a stone discovered in 1972 near the town of Gaspar in Brazil. It may be seen at the following website. All right, so there's a lot cut off, but this is the image, and this is what it has. Looks like some form of Punic, Paleo-Hebrew, and mixed with some other stuff. All right. Then you got This right here, it's on a huge mountain in Rio de Janeiro. Could be an ancient tree stump, could be something else. But it seems like they carved. It appears. It could be wrong, but it appears that it's like somebody carved the face of a man, or maybe it was a man, giant. But either way, there's some inscription on the side of it, and they're saying it's Phoenician, and somebody even claims to have translated it, right? So real quick, we're just gonna get a little excerpt of a video on that. This is from the book Dead Man's Secrets, American edition. All right, so we're gonna get into this book right here. It is called Dead Man's Secrets by Jonathan Gray. Continuing here in Brazil, they put Gavea, but it's also called Gavea with a G, Gavea, Brazil. It says here a mountain carved to resemble the head of a bearded man wearing a spiked helmet. On one side of the mountain, on a small vertical face 3,000 feet in height, is a carved inscription in cuneiform characters, some 10 feet tall. It is a mystery how this was done, all right? I want to show you what they're talking about, guys. I might do a video on this one day, you know, to follow up on it some more. This is the place they're talking about, and you see right here, if you guys look right here, this is the head or the face they're talking about. Here's another angle of it, same with a beard and a face and everything. Now what he's saying is that, or what a lot of people are saying is that right here is an inscription. And it's a large inscription. They don't know how they did this. So again, this is the famous giant face of Gavea, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. What are we looking at here? You know, were these the ancient trees, roots, stumps of ancient trees? Or what exactly are we looking at right here where they left this image? This is just so you guys can see the view from the top. This is from the top of the rock. Look how high that is. All right, and there it goes again. So this is what they're saying again, the inscription is, and they're saying it's Phoenician inscription seen from afar. In the southern part of the city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, right beside the beach, there is a steep mountain that rises 842 meters, 2,760 feet above sea level. It has a sheer rock face and is known as Pedra de Gavea, or topsail rock in Portuguese. Besides being a beautiful sight, with rugged face and its base covered with lush tropical vegetation, it is also intriguing because it has some strange marks on its face that have been said to be man-made inscriptions. This is just one of the many alleged pre-Hispanic inscriptions found in Brazil. Today's post will review them with a critical eye. So here is the inscription next to the head, as they're saying right here. Going back to the book, that's what they were talking about here. So you guys can see that these notes are based on real stuff. You can actually look into them. Yeah, you can actually look into them. Yeah. There's a Maya Buddha here. Don't mind him. In this little excerpt, we're going to read from Before Columbus, Links Between the Old World and Ancient America. Before Columbus, Links Between the Old World and Ancient America by Cyrus H. Gordon. A distinguished scholar presents dramatic new evidence, archaeological, ethnographic, and linguistic, demonstrating continuing American contacts across both the Atlantic and the Pacific beginning in the Bronze Age. Just another example. This is from another chapter. It says here, this is from Albon, Mexico. Do you see that? See how he's sitting? It's saying the pose recalls the common Egyptian posture, characteristic of scribes. All right, he got some symbols right here too, the Mayan glyphs and all that. And that's either a turban or a flat top. You tell me. Turban or a flat top. So he got some inscriptions, you know, and writing as well. That's why I was showing that. Okay, hold on, guys. Just see, we can get something here. So, all right, so check out this video. Actually, I think I have some extras on this video as well, where we went over all the different inscriptions they're finding in the Amazon jungle. Like so many. They're assembling, again, old world stuff. All right. Let's see what Graham Hancock has to say. He always got something good to say. Let's see what he's got to say today, guys.
I can't think of anything more pseudoscientific than the Clovis First doctrine, which locked American archaeology for 50 years in a particular framework, which we now know was totally wrong. Nothing good about it at all. A complete mistake. What I'm hoping the book will do in the long run is that it will lead to more attention being focused on the Americas. This is a very neglected area of the world as far as deep and ancient archaeology goes. The recent history of the Americas has been relatively well studied, but the deep and ancient history has not been well studied. And I think America is going to contain revelations for us about our story and about our past. And I'm serious when
Yeah, he's very serious, and we're very serious. There's some deep revelations here for the world. All right, we're just scratching the surface. Let's go.
I suggest that America is the most plausible and the most likely home base for a lost civilization. If you're
going to read from this book again, we've read from this book before in other videos. This book is Mysteries of Ancient South America by Harold T. Wilkins. Right, so he gets to this part in page 119. He starts comparing some inscriptions and hieroglyphics, right, from Brazil, India, and Phoenician, right? So on page 119 of this book, it says, "Let my reader glance at the comparative table below." Now he shows Atlantean Brazil, they found this, Asoka, Old India, values foreign letter K, and Phoenician value Tau, or the Tau, the cross, the Tau, the Ta, Tau, right? One of the less, also the letters of the Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew. So on the left is Brazilian, right? Very similar, you see, to the Sankris. Ancient Egypt, well, this is Brazil right here. Brazil and Babylon identical. And Philistine, Phoenician, same thing. Early Greek, you see that? All right, that's from Brazil, or so-called Atlantis, or so-called Lemuria. Atlantean Brazil, over here again, Nineveh, within the other side, Phoenician. Where do they really get their letters from? What are they really speaking? And now we got again, over here with the triangle and the cross on top, that's from Brazil. All right. Then we got over here from Brazil again. Look at that, Phoenician and Carthaginian, the letter Aleph, just like the Hebrew Aleph, right? The first symbol, pictograph, and the alphabet, and the Moabite stone, almost like a W over here, see? Letter Shin. Tyre and Carthage. Early Greek, look at that. They just flipped it. The Atlantean civilization lasted 4,000 of years, and evidence exists to suggest that Diodorus was right in the asserting that the ancient Egyptians derived their hieroglyphics from old Atlantis / America, right? Okay. We already got the Masonic book, Ancient Order, the Mystic Order, telling us that ancient Egypt was really America / Atlantis. And their hieroglyphics, again, derived from Atlantis, these Egyptians, and that the Phoenician seamen traders took their alphabet from the same civilization. But in a far later day, when decadence had overtaken the Atlanteans of old South America, the Atlanteans of what? Old South America, and the great catastrophe was near at hand. By the side of South America, one suspects the civilizations and cultures of the so-called old worlds of Asia and Europe may be mere parvenus and inheritors. All right, they just may be inheritors. The reader will find these comparative symbols set out below of great interest if he or she is interested in ancient South America, probably the cradle of the world's earliest civilization. Probably, listen to what he's saying. If you're interested in ancient South America, then you're probably interested in the cradle of the world's earliest civilization. All right, we got these symbols right here. It says Brazil, Mexico, and China. Look at that. Look how it evolved. A house, or the verb to dwell. Right? Brazil, China, and Egypt. Right here it says a battlement, wall, or defensive barrier found painted or engraved, means also a palisade on the bank or a stream. Right here we got, what is it, a leaf? Brazil, China, Egypt. This is the only vegetable sign found on Marajo ceramics in Egypt and China. The sign made a place covered in woods, also in Egypt, the syllable am. All right, sun and sun. A river spanned by the bridge. Got that already. This is the symbol for night, also suggests a form of lantern or pharos, means also division of day and night in ancient Chinese. This means govern or command in Egyptian is equivalent to the phonetic symbol F or PH or P. In the Mexican is equivalent to Petklal. Then we got here Brazil, Egypt, China, India. What looks like an umbrella, right? Umbrella, shelter, cover, calm, you see? Brazil, Egypt, China says. Same thing it says. Rock or mountain. Brazil, China. Character not met alone but in combination means pyramid or stela. Brazil, Egypt. Is equivalent to the phonetic symbol N, stands for goddess, Neith. The symbol of old Egypt's Uraeos, idea of cunning or wisdom, is also the symbol of Quetzalcoatl, the wise man in black from High Brazil, in black, the wise man in black, Quetzalcoatl, from High Brazil, who civilized the barbarians. He civilized who? The barbarians and savages of Central America, perhaps about 12,000 BC. Brazil, Mexico, China, Egypt, India, all right? Just evolved to different things. Sign which sometimes represents two arched eyebrows united to the nose is identical with the Tau of the Greek alphabet and corresponds with the Egyptian cross, where it symbolizes omnipotence, grandeur, eternal life, and phallic symbolism. It means the act of coition between male and female. In the Aztecan dressing codex and number C Toronto manuscript, it has same meaning. It was also the sign borne by the ancient Egyptian goddess of fire and segment. So all that means the same. And even in the Mexican codices.
If you're going to propose a lost civilization, there are certain preconditions. You can't have it on a small island. There's got to be a large landmass with enormous resources and the ability for population to grow and for those resources to be mobilized. And what I suddenly realized, you asked earlier why I started to write this book at all, is what the new evidence is pointing to is that the Americas have been wrongly neglected. That here we have a giant continental landmass with extraordinary resources that has just been ruled out of the story of human civilization. But once we take account of the fact that there was a giant cataclysm over North America 12,800 years ago, and once we start looking, as I do in America before, at the incredible, deep, in-depth similarities between, for example, the religious system of ancient Egypt and the religious system of the Mississippi Valley, then you realize that you're into a global mystery here, and that the answer to that mystery may not at all be in the old world, and may very much be in the Americas. In the Americas.
All right, in the Americas, okay? All right. I know you guys heard it. I know you guys heard that. All right. Hold up, guys. So we're gonna get into America BC real quick again, because we interrupted Barry Fell. All right, we're gonna go back to some words from Barry Fell, just so you know. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your patience, because we're live. I got a lot of windows open and stuff. I got music playing. I'm DJing, video, DJing, all that. Finds were attributed to the misguided folly of uprooted colonists from Europe, to forgers or cranks fabricated. So he's saying there was, or Kurimeo saying, there was once a time when such finds, so we're talking about the inscriptions, that they're being found all over the Americas, attributed to misguided folly of uprooted colonists from Europe, to forgers or cranks fabricating tradition for a society that has none. All right, so that's where we're going to pick up from. Tradition for a society that has none. But skepticism changed to bewilderment when it was discovered that American inscriptions, some of them known for a century or more, turned out to have been written in ancient scripts of a type only recently deciphered in Europe or North Africa. Thus, the truth has slowly come to light. Ancient history is inscribed upon the bedrock and buried stone buildings of America, and the only hands that could have inscribed it were those of ancient people. America, as we now realize, is a treasure house of records of man's achievement upon the high seas and bygone ages. Remember the seafarers of America. They're seeing all this in reverse. America's a true old world. Even more so, our inscribed rocks and tablets, a heritage from a forgotten era of colonization. They tell us of settlers who came from the old world and who remained to become founding fathers of some of the Amerindian nations, all right? These ancient writings can easily be classified into some half-dozen styles, each now known to be associated with one or other of several ancient peoples whose languages have been in part recovered. New inscriptions are being discovered almost every day, from localities thousands of miles apart, usually under circumstances that preclude any possibility of fraud. These remarkable and hitherto unsuspected facts have come to light this past summer of 1975 in the course of an archaeological survey of New Hampshire and Vermont. The hundreds of inscriptions among the ruins attest the vitality of Celtic civilization in pagan times and tell a wonderful story of how Europeans lived in the Bronze Age. Our first season's work has yielded only hints of the fate of the Celtic kingdom, but this book relates what we have been able to find out of the first 1,000 years or so of their settlements in North America. About 3,000 years ago, bands of roving Celtic mariners crossed the North Atlantic to discover and then to colonize North America. All right, so this is what they're seeing because they're finding these things here, and these things are dating that far back. But I would say they're seeing it in reverse, and I got future videos. This is going to be a deep month again. We're going to get deep. Who are the Celtic? We're going to go over that again. What is the origin of the people? Who are the Picts? Who are these original Irish? Who are the Tuatha Dé Danann? We're going to get into all that. All right, so remember, and this was before I had done the and we finished the book yesterday. So that's what I was talking about. And plus, I got a lot more coming about this. So you see how they're trying to say, oh, they came here and left these inscriptions here and then left. But the style found here is a lot older than what they're finding in Europe. And their own stories tell us where they came from in these annals, right? We read it. They say they came from Canaan, Egypt, or, this mythical land, Greater Ireland, and all these other places, which was always on the west. All right, so remember that. Let's keep going. And real quick, we got this picture right here, right? And it says down here, 2 generations ago, Edward Reed was plowing his property near White River, Vermont, when the earth gave way beneath him, and he discovered an underground passage leading into this chamber. Here, John Williams examines the interior. Deeply inscribed letters on a buried lintel later disclosed that the chamber is a small temple dedicated to the sun god Bel, Peter J. Garfel. Continuing the book, it says, in the wake of the Celtic pioneers came the Phoenician traders of Spain, men from Cadiz who spoke the Punic tongue, but wrote it in the peculiar style of lettering known as Iberian script. Although some of these traders seem to have settled only on the coast, and then only temporarily, leaving a few engraved stones to mark their visits or record their claims of territorial annexation, other Phoenicians remained here, and together with Egyptian miners, became part of the Wabanaki tribe of New England. Oh, that's a deep one right there. All right, we're going to get into all that again. It's going to be a deep month. I'm talking about the Tuatha Dé Danann, the Danites, the Phoenicians, the Picts, the Celts, and all these sea people, ancient sea people. We may be seeing it in reverse again, where the Phoenicians are coming out of Canaan or the Promised Land, right? That's America. Let's not forget that. So they're saying Wabanaki, huh? The Wabanaki tribe of New England. We'll see. So some Phoenician miners, some Egyptians, and Iberian Celts, huh? Further south, Basque sailors came to Pennsylvania and established a temporary settlement there, leaving, however, no substantial monuments other than grave markers bearing their names. Further south still, Libyan and Egyptian mariners entered the Mississippi. Egyptian mariners, huh? In the Mississippi, the real now, that is Egypt. You see? That's the hijack. That's the hijack. From the Gulf of Mexico, penetrating inland to Iowa and the Dakotas. They're only saying this is because they found Egyptian hieroglyphs and writing there. So they're saying, oh, Egyptians must have came from over there in Africa Because remember, these people are all coming with their out of Africa background and theories still. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, remember, they're seeing everything in reverse. If anybody's confused, make sure to catch up on the presentations. This is the true old world. This is where all these mythical lands, all these people say they were coming from. This is the place. This is the mother base, as Graham Hancock was saying. From his research, all those years, he wrote a lot of books. He was looking for a lost civilization, and he said he found it. It's here in the Americas. This is the place. All right. So we've been seeing all this stuff in reverse, but that's why we're finding all these old world like elements and culture and writing over here, and spread out throughout the Americas. They didn't disappear, guys. Their names got changed, paper genocide, reclassified. People got generalized, grouped into others, and a whole false narrative was told. That's why we're trying to correct the narratives. So they're trying to explain how these writings are here. But remember, the Nile or the Mississippi, which means the Great River, is the real one. So of course you're gonna find inscriptions like that there. Yep. So again, penetrating inland to Iowa and the Dakotas and westward along the Arkansas and Cimarron rivers to leave behind inscribed records of their presence. Norse and Basque visitors reached the Gulf of St. Lawrence, introducing various mariners' terms into the language of the northern Algonquin Indians, the Basque and the Algonquin. We're going to get into that, the Algonquin Basque Pidgin language. Very similar. They can communicate with each other. We're going to get into all that, okay? Descendants of these visitors are also to be found apparently among the Amerindian tribes, several which employ dialects derived in part from the ancient tongues of Phoenicia and North Africa, okay? In American Indians language, the true old world, that's why. Don't see it in reverse. The Celts seem first to have settled near the mouths of rivers of southern New Hampshire. At some time they ascended the Connecticut River, sailing as far north as Quechee, Vermont, where a western branch of the river joins the main stream through a precipitous gorge. Attracted doubtless by the seclusion of the uplands beyond the gorge, the Celts turned westward and colonized the hanging valleys of the Green Mountains. Quechee, incidentally, perpetuates the ancient Gaulish pronunciation of Celtic word Kithe, meaning chasm or pit, and the river that flows through the gorge, the Otaquechee, similarly is an Amerindian rendering of the Celtic name meaning waters of the chasm. In the secluded valley and on the hilltops, the priests or druids erected the temples and circles of standing stone required by their religious beliefs, using, like their European cousins, the great stone boulders left upon the land by the retreating glaciers at the end of the Ice Age. On these stones they cut their inscriptions, using the ancient Celtic alphabet called Ogham. Ancient. All right, Ogham. Ogham. We're going to find a lot of Ogham here in America. We're going to get into all this again. We're just getting started here. In Europe, the Celts doubtless did the same, but when Christianity came to the Celts, the priests caused all the ancient pagan inscriptions to be erased, replaced by Christian Ogham, or left blank, while all the offending fertility paraphernalia were totally destroyed. Not so in America. Here, Christianity never came to the Celts. Their old pagan inscriptions remain intact, and a host of giant stone phalluses characterize the places of worship. All right, so that's deep. They're saying this stuff is not over there in Ireland because it's been destroyed, but it's still here in America. So which one might be the older one and more original? It's still here. It's still intact here. All right, think about that. Here we may yet see and read the ancient inscriptions of the rite of initiation to manhood, and see those sites of ritual worship of the powers of fertility and nature. In short, we have preserved in North America the oldest phases of religious thought and action of European man, of which only the merest traces have survived in Europe itself, all right? It's here in America, the oldest phases of religious thought, all right, of the European man. It's here. This is the origin. Listen to what he's telling you. The consequences of these discoveries for archaeology and history are, of course, immeasurable. As one historian, Professor Norman Toden, has pointed out, It means that 2,500 years of American prehistory must now be transferred to history. For history begins when writing begins, and we now have the oldest written documents of our nation and the names of the men who wrote them.
Yep.
For archaeology, a whole new view is called for. During the past 100 years, the belief that no European settled America before Leif Erikson or Columbus has grown from an hypothesis into a firmly rooted dogma. All right, so before we continue on the previous page, they have this image right here. And I think we've gone over this in the video already.
Yep.
And then we got this one right here. And they're comparing it, I guess. It says, early colonists in Eastern America as they saw themselves. Above right, a Celtic portrait from Stark County, Ohio. This sculpture represents Bel, the sun god. And his afro hairstyle symbolizes radiant energy. Right, a marine.
He said
All
afro.
right, we're gonna get into this book real quick.
So before we get into this book, yeah, he said afro hairstyle. That's funny. He said it means the radiance. The afro is just the radiance. That was a good one. That was a good one, man. So we're gonna get into another. Hold on.
All right.
Hold on. Don't get into it yet. Hold up. We're gonna get into some more excerpts I got here, recordings I did. Welcome. We're gonna go back and forth in different videos because I got them all in different videos and stuff. And then I did some new recordings, so I gotta mix it all in here. And yeah, so let's get into this. This is some of the collection I got of the Ancient American magazine. Shout out to the people who published this magazine. I called the number and website, and he answered, and he was pretty cool. He helped me do the purchase and get some of these magazines. I have a lot of these on my Patreon page for my patrons, so most of the issues I've already shared them there. So go ahead and check that out if you're there.
We're going to continue here reading another article, this time from the Ancient American magazine. This is volume 1, issue number 3, Ancient Egyptians of New Mexico, by Barbara Holly Rock. In April 1991, my colleagues and I first viewed the inscription carved on gray limestone atop a narrow valley with about 1,000-foot drop to the valley floor. The view from the side was immense. We could see both north up the narrowed valley for several miles and south down to the open plain horizon. Access to this side is up the west side of the mountain trail cut by wagon tracks, then across the mountain top by foot to a narrow ledge facing west. A month later, other members returned to take infrared photographs of the inscription and to make a plastic mold. The inscription is precisely drafted with evenly spaced characters on visible straight lines. The salutation, on, is left and above the three-line message. The right of the bottom line is another complex character which I will refer to as the signature. Another complex symbol is below the 3 lines. Since we were then affiliated with Fell's Epigraphic Society, I asked for opinions to the origin and date of the inscription. 3 opinions were offered concerning only its national origin: Hmong, Western Ojibwas, Indian, and Demotic Egyptian. None were offered for the translation or possible date. So real quick, this is some of the inscription right here. You guys can see. All right, just a photograph. Let me just go back to the article. It says Gloria Farley gave us a copy of the article, Egyptian and Hmong Clues to a Western American Petroglyph Group, by the late Dr. Paul Cheeseman and David Tomlinson. We learned that the inscription made of 19 different symbols had 10 matches to those shown by Cheeseman and Tomlinson. Therefore, there was 55% probability that our inscription may have the same language base as the Hmong inscriptions. But what was the Hmong's language base? The Western Ojibwa's origin of the inscription was researched and discarded because the Ojibwas originated around the Great Lakes area of Canada, making it doubtful that they were ever ranged from Southern California through the mountains eastward into New Mexico and Colorado. They practiced intermarriage not only with all their neighboring Indian tribes, but also with other races, French trappers, all right? With the who? With the Huguenots? With the French, yeah, Black French. Therefore, their language would be a borrowed mixture from many sources. The Ojibwas, symbols and meanings from William Tompkins' Indian Sign Language made gibberish when applied to our 3-line inscription. Since 25% of our petroglyphic symbols were mentioned in Tompkins' book, I discarded this as a national origin source. The third opinion, Demotic Egyptian, has been the best suggestion to determine a meaning and to point to a relevant national source. All of our symbols, 100% of them, were found in the Egyptian language sources that we consulted, okay? This is Egyptian hieroglyphics they're finding here in New Mexico. So then they break down what hieroglyphic writing is here and what time periods and what demotic means and from what Egyptian kingdom it comes from. He says demotic writing originated in northern Egypt and it was used by Herodotus and other Greeks for writing daily documents. So this is what they're finding here, okay? They're giving you the time frame of this possible Egyptian inscription here in New Mexico. Again, things they never tell us. Here they are right here. And you guys can do the comparison on your own. But yeah, this is a supposed translation, right? Greetings, hail integrity, village, time to live, as signposts of death by last inundation had broken the authority from crescent moon to crescent moon for a month, to be in front of or lead a return to cut the clouds above, at the end time to live. Offerings and sacrifices are the way one's love. Seems like sign about a flood and surviving. Massachusetts, look what it says, an underwater rock carving in Lake Assawampset. Massachusetts was temporarily exposed when the waterline receded during a drought in 1957. It clearly portrayed a shape of ancient Phoenician or Minoan style, suggesting it was in size when the sea level was lower and the level of inshore waters corresponded. All right, a Phoenician ship. Remember, those so-called Phoenician ships is just like the big canoes we had over here in the Americas. We were sailing with them. Look just like the Phoenician ones. And remember, Danites are coming from the promised land. What's the true promised land? Tennessee. A stone found in 1885 near Morganton, Tennessee. Born inscriptions speculated to be recent Indian. However, when the stone is turned upside down, the letters spelled a message in ancient Canaanite. For Jehu, an example of an inscription having been looked at upside down for almost a century. Canada. The Mi'kmaq clan of the Algonquin Nation wrote in 2,000 characters of pure Egyptian hieroglyphics. All right, you guys can actually research that. All right, that's true. New Hampshire.
Okay.
A stone labyrinth with Minoan-like inscriptions and of a similar construction to that of 3,500 years ago stands at Mystery Hill, New Hampshire. Iowa. An American Rosetta Stone called the Davenport Stele, found 1874 in the lower levels of an Indian burial mound, contains inscriptions in 3 languages: Hieratic Egyptian, Iberian Punic, and Libyan. All right, this is corresponding with the newspaper articles we're finding, and also the other book we read about all these inscriptions they're finding all over America. That video I made with the same exact finds with these 3 inscriptions as mentioned here. Harvard professor Barry Fell, all right, by Barry Fell, in America, BC, that's the book we're talking about, that's the one we read, remarks that this stele is genuine because neither the Iberian nor the Libyan scripts had been deciphered at the time it was discovered.
Okay.
So it couldn't be a hoax. Nobody knew that script. Georgia, Manfred's Medcaf found a stone which bears a Phoenician script used around 2000 BC, all right? The Medcaf stone, we've gone over that in previous videos. All right, so make sure to catch up to all the previous videos if you're new to the channel, and we got a lot more coming. All right, it says here Tennessee in 1970 the Bat Creek stone from Tennessee was positively identified as being of Hebrew origin. All right, we've done a video on the Bat Creek stone, actually a couple videos. All right, it's Hebrew origin. So was an amulet recovered from a very old tomb. Caches of coins dating from the Hebrew Bar Kokhbar rebellion against Rome in AD 132-135 have been unearthed in Kentucky and Tennessee. Okay, this is happening here in America, in the true old world. Georgia in 1973, Mrs. Jo Hearn was digging in her backyard when she unearthed a metal tablet containing a cuneiform script called Classic Ur II, which was in use in the Middle East 4,000 years ago. Ur, right? Coming from Ireland, Ur.
Yeah.
Similar authenticated finds are common all through the United States. Inscriptions on buried temples, on tablets, on gravestones, and on cliff faces. All right, we've gone over a lot of those finds already. It says here, Amazon jungle, Ecuador. A plaque found in the Amazon jungle was carved in pure Libyan, which was also spoken by the Sunni Indians of southwestern USA. Peru. An inscription discovered 150 miles from Cusco relates that its authors, from the era of Egypt's first king Menes, had arrived from the Indus Valley, Pakistan. All right, this is what they're finding. Where? In Cusco, Peru, in the city of David. Brazil, near Manaus, over 600 miles inland, was found a pot buried with an Arab inscription, Sakat Bahar, River Sea, dated at 4,000 years old, okay? Brazil, over 2,800 graffiti, some very ancient, have been found in Brazil, many in the heart of the jungle or on mountaintops. There are pre-Egyptian, Phoenician, and Sumerian scripts and hieroglyphics. At least 2,000 photographs of these have been taken. The earlier Indians had many ancient traditions of an advanced civilization that flourished thousands of years ago to the north and west of the central highlands, all right? And we've read a couple of books on that. Again, we've gone over some of this information, and we got more videos coming on a lot of these finds here in South America and Brazil in the jungle. It says here, more in Brazil, Phoenician inscriptions have been found, which give the names and dates of the rulers of Tyre and Sidon. All right, check out my day and night video. So what we talking about then, huh? Brazil, in the province of Amazonas, the French engineer Apollinaire Fraud came upon an ancient carved rock hidden by dense jungle close to a river, which recorded the journey of a Proto-Egyptian priest to what is now Bolivia. The inscription gave directions to silver and gold mines. Stage by stage, such markers ran across central Brazil, all right? Moving on, it says most historic, Alaska.
All right. So, real quick, before we move on, I want to go real quick. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your patience during the live. Thank you. So we were talking about the Medcaf stone in Georgia. As I said, want to have a little excerpt here from another video I have here, recording. All right, second.
Before Columbus, Links Between the Old World and Ancient America by Cyrus H. Gordon. A distinguished scholar presents dramatic new evidence, archaeological, ethnographic, and linguistic, demonstrating continuing American contacts across both the Atlantic and the Pacific beginning in the Bronze Age. In 1966, Manfred Medcaf made a discovery in the ruins of Underwood Mill, on land belonging to Fort Benning, Georgia. The mill was built in the 19th century, well before Sir Arthur Evans excavated the first Minoan inscriptions at Knossos in 1990. Medcaf was looking for slabs to be used in building a barbecue pit. On cleaning one of them that he had pried loose from the moldering mill walls, he saw it was inscribed. Good judgment prompted him to transmit the stone to Dr. Joseph B. Mahan, Jr., Director of Education and Research at the nearby Columbus Museum of Arts and Crafts, Columbus, Georgia. Continues, says, accordingly, Mahan suspected that the Medcaf stone found on old Juchi terrain might be inscribed in a system of writing with Near East origins in the second millennia BC. In May 1968, Mahan sent me a cast of the stone with a request for my opinion. The affinities of the script are with the Aegean of the latter half of the second millennium BC, and form the signs go with those of the Aegean syllabary, represented by Minoan Linear A and Mycenaean Linear B, Two of the signs of the Metcalf stone might be compared, as we shall note below, with syllabic symbols in linear A and B, or alternatively with letters of the Phoenician alphabet. Should the latter turn out to be correct, the stone might be said to reflect a stage intermediate between the syllabary and alphabet. All right, and this is what they're talking about. There's a picture here in the book. All right, again, Metcalf stone from Georgia with that ancient script on it. You guys can see they found this in, again, Georgia, the Metcalf stone. Pre-Columbian resources potentials, a comparison of Old World and New World petroglyphs by Margaret S. Henke for the Bureau of Land Management under the WICHI Intern Program, September 1978. Is here abstract. The purpose of this paper is to explore the possibilities for pre-Columbian contact in the western United States by studying the petroglyphs for possible Old World scripts. It is intended to be a survey of the literature on pre-Columbian contact and to give examples of the types of petroglyphs and scripts that BLM surveyors in the field may encounter. The words diffusion and independent invention cause a reaction among anthropologists whenever they are spoken. Thus, it is not unusual that the idea of transoceanic contact between the Americas and Asia and Europe sparked controversy. When Barry Fell, a marine biologist at Harvard, published his bicentennial book, America BC, that's the book we just came from, right? So you see, he's from Harvard. Much of the American anthropology community was outraged. Although books have been published before on the subject of transoceanic contact with America before Columbus, most of these were considered frivolous by the academic community. The exceptions, such as Riddles in History and Before Columbus by Cyrus Gordon, were not so provocative that the academic community could not ignore them. Fell, however, attacked the problem of script in American petroglyphs with such new and conclusive statements that he both intrigued and irritated. His statements for transatlantic contact rest on his translation of Old World language and Old World script in American petroglyphs. Much of the land west of the Mississippi, where petroglyphs can be found, is under the responsibility of the Bureau of Land Management. Therefore, it is important that its field administrators and surveyors be aware both of the major issues of the controversy and the fact that rock art sites under BLM protection are one of the major sources of information which scholars will need to examine. Rock art has been important in the diffusion controversy because Barry Fell has found Old World script in the geometric symbols and petroglyphs. He professes to have found Punic, Iberic, Celtic, and Libyan languages and scripts from New England to California. The linguistic community has reacted to these decipherments with an even mixture of approval and disapproval. His original and main area of research is in the Pacific Islands. Experts in this area accept his linguistic theories more readily. He ties Indo-Pacific languages and scripts back to Libyan languages and scripts in North Africa. His Celtic theories are the most criticized. However, his critics seem to be locked into one particular Ogham script, which is found in the British Isles. Since there are records such as the Book of Ballymote, which indicate that there was more than one Ogham script, their arguments may be based more on tradition than on sound criticism. Stone tablets have been found in the mounds along the trade routes. One at Davenport, Iowa, was translated by Barry Fell as containing a trilingual inscription in Egyptian hieroglyphs, Iberian Punic, and Libyan scripts, all right? The Davenport tablet, that's what he's talking about right there. We've gone over that in previous videos, in my older videos, and we've showed that that was an official find in the mounds. Again, it contains Egyptian hieroglyphs, Iberian Punic, and Libyan script. The Davenport calendar still, both in the scripts and the drawings, describe a ceremony very similar to the Egyptian celebration of the New Year. An elephant pipe was also found in this area. The Davenport artifacts were discredited by the Smithsonian as forgeries, but fortunately, the town erected a museum to house them. Thus, years after they were declared forgeries, Fell was able to transcribe the tablets with knowledge of the script, which had been developed after the objects were rejected. Another similar incident involved a tablet excavated in the late 1880s. by the Smithsonian Institution from a mound in London County in eastern Tennessee. The Bat Creek inscription was published upside down in an official report in 1894. The stone was deposited in the Smithsonian Institution, along with field notes and a whole set of archaeological artifacts with which it was found. An alert researcher realized the inscription was published upside down and brought it to the attention of Cyrus Gordon, who translated the inscription in Hebrew using an old Hebrew script of about AD 100. All right, we're talking about the Bat Creek stone. Again, we have a video on this as well. Several videos talking about this. The Bat Creek inscription, the Bat Creek stone. Yes, it had Hebrew writing, ancient script, old Hebrew. These finds demonstrate the importance of preserving old artifacts containing possible script, whether or not they seem authentic at the time. The state of Arkansas has set an example for other states in the area of rock art preservation. The narrow shelters on White Rock Road in Crawford County have been set aside as a historical site by the state. The inscriptions contain both Christian and Libyan influences. Fell states that the upper left hieroglyph is the word soul because of the light rays surrounding the figure's head. In addition, the figure holds an Egyptian tayyid amulet, which is a symbol of everlasting life. Just below this is his lifeless body, and just inside the grotto is the Libyan word twat, which means raised from the dead. The same word is written on the right side of the entrance of the cave. Fell notes that the script is correct tifina. It could be a forgery only if it was written after 1973, when the Libyo-Egyptian language was first deciphered. He suggests that the writing style appears to be 4th century or later. It may be related to the flight of Christian monks from North Africa when Vandals crossed the Straits of Gibraltar. All right, so that's them trying to explain why they finding this here. Because this is the true old world. Again, let's not forget. Moving westward into Oklahoma via the Arkansas rivers, numerous inscriptions have been found in areas across the state. The inscriptions were recorded by Gloria Farley long before the present controversy on Old World scripts. In 1975, George Carter, professor of geography at Texas A&M University, submitted some of Farley's inscriptions to Fell, who identified many of them as Iberian scripts found in Spain. There are 4 principal scripts, one used by the native Basque, one used by Libyans, a square Numidian script which came to Spain about 1500 BC, a pointed Punic script which came to Spain about 1000 BC, and a type of Proto-Ogham used by the Celts around 1000 BC. This Ogham is characterized by a horizontal line divided by groups of vertical slashes, which denote letters. Often these Iberian scripts appear as bilinguals. One of the most interesting inscriptions recorded by Gloria Farley is the Pontotoc stone found in Oklahoma County of the same name along the South Canadian River. The sandstone artifact was chiseled from a larger stone, a practice which is not recommended. It is now 12 inches by 16 inches by 3 inches and weighs 40 pounds. 2 Iberic scripts are found on it, along with 3 human figures and a small ship. The scripts Ogham Punic and Iberian Punic have been identified by Fell as part of the hymn to the Aton by the pharaoh Akhenaten. All right, that's what they found in Oklahoma. Listen, the rays on the tablet represent the rays of the sun. Fell suggests, based on the style of the Ogham script, that it be dated circa 500 BC. Another significant Oklahoma site occurs in the area of the Cimarron River, in the Oklahoma Panhandle, where numerous potential inscriptions are found. One is particularly interesting because it shows the relationship of a rock art picture to the script. It is an incised horse, which has been called by experts in primitive art the most beautiful petroglyph in America. The horse measures 25 inches, and its lines are very faint. The inscription inscribed on his shoulder is Numidian, according to Fell. In Libyan, it reads swift-footed. The legs are incomplete, which is interesting because the same depiction of the legs of a horse occurs on a vase excavated in Lyria and eastern Spain. If this site is verified, it will be important because all horse pictures and rock art have been presumed to be historic. This would challenge that hard and fast rule. You hear this? They have the other piece. They have the bottom piece. Wow. Another impressive Cimarron petroglyph is a 26 either feet or inches figure of a man holding two spears with an inscription near him. The entire petroglyph is weathered, although the top line of the inscription is fainter than the rest. The inscription is probably bilingual, with the bottom line being Numidian. At this time, it has not been deciphered. The figure itself, with its pointed shoulders, is similar to figures from Big Bend, Texas, northward through Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana. With further study, this petroglyph may yield information about the relationships between these areas. All right, again, we're just going over what they have found and they never told us about. All right, these ancient scripts. Iberic script can be followed farther up the Arkansas River into Colorado. Professor Etienne Renaud of the University of Denver noted the similarity between the rock art of Oklahoma and that in southeastern Colorado. As a Frenchman, Renaud received his training in anthropology in Europe, and he has also written on the similarities between the rock art of the Iberian Peninsula and that in Colorado and Wyoming. Thus, it should not be surprising that a site at Hackberry Springs in Las Animas County in southeastern Colorado has petroglyphs which may be scripts. The site was originally being researched in 1976 by Dr. Don Rickley, BLM historian, for evidence of an 1868 skirmish between L Company of the 7th Cavalry and a Cheyenne War party. While in the area, he noticed several incised petroglyphs with intersecting straight lines and unfamiliar symbols. Later, after a trip to Scotland, where he noticed similarities between Hackberry and rock art in Scotland, and after reading America BC, he recognized the potential significance of the petroglyphs for the question of Old World contact. This inscription was later verified by Fell as being a variant of Ogham writing in a Celtic-Iberic language. One referred to a priest of Bel, and another to a king and his woman. The cave where they are found has numerous other hash marks or various levels in the cave. This is entirely consistent with the appearance of many caves in Europe, which are literally covered with such hash marks. Nearby in the area of the John Martin Reservoir on the Arkansas River are numerous other sites whose petroglyph site reports indicate that they may also contain Iberic scripts. These sites should be reviewed carefully for their protection and to ascertain the area's possible value for education and recreation. Significant sites are likely to be found throughout southeastern Colorado, all right? It's all over the place. They never reported none of this. Returning east into Oklahoma, many sites have been found in the Tulsa area. In a thoughtful report, Donald Buchanan discusses 4 Oklahoma petroglyph sites which he and the late Alf Monge, noted runic expert, had attempted to decipher using runic letters. Although they were able to work out a transcription, Buchanan was never satisfied because the transcription could not be clearly translated. Taking the tip from Fell that the scripts might have Semitic base, Buchanan was able to decipher them using North Iberic script forms and an Ibero-Punic language. The Tulsa inscriptions of these 4 inscriptions is transcribed as DH Tua MNH and reads from right to left Huna Mawati Ad. This translates as here is the wasteland's edge. Each of the other transcriptions offers similar comments about boundaries when transcribed in this script. Buchanan's work is significant because it independently verifies Fell's work with other Oklahoma scripts. This is the type of testing which needs to be done by researchers. Another of the Oklahoma sites reported by Gloria Farley is called the Batchy Stone, after the town near which it was found in 1943. In shape, the stone has the appearance of a gravestone. At one time, it was part of a group of stones, but when the site was relocated in 1968, the other stones had apparently been carted away and used as fill. Approximately 15 by 13 by 3, the stone, which is fine-grained sandstone, tapers to a 5-inch base. An inscription is carved along the top and horizontal lines occur on the edge which are similar to vertical ogam. Fell has deciphered this bilingual inscription and finds that the top line reads from right to left HLLHG in a South Iberian script. This translates to be a gravestone inscription. Haga rests here. The Ogam script in the style of Cachao da Rapa in northern Portugal reads HG and translates as Haga. I'm gonna get into this. All right, so real quick, we're gonna get a little bit on the Bat Creek, a little bit more on the Bat Creek stone here. All right, because you don't know, we'll go back to that.
Here's another piece. Block Hebrew. They said they'd never seen anything like it. Mainstream archaeologists at the time called this a hoax. But then in 1900, or just about after 1900, in Israel, they found the same block-style Hebrew writing. Mainstream archaeologists still dismiss the findings. They found it in Israel and they found it in Ohio. But there was another stone that they found that they couldn't argue. This is the Bat Creek stone. It was found during the course of an official Smithsonian evacuation. The Smithsonian didn't understand the meaning of the writing on the stone. They thought it was Cherokee. Since it came from Cherokee country, they didn't realize that it's actually Hebrew. They had published this originally upside down. They threw it in a box at the bottom of the Smithsonian, put it in the basement. Many years later, a scholar took it out of the box, looked at it, and went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. It's Phoenician, ancient Hebrew. So what's going on here? What is that about? Where is that history? I'll show you in a few minutes, and we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to show you some more things that the Smithsonian, science, government, commerce colluded to erase.
The science of archaeology was really in its infancy at that time. There were only a few people using what we would consider to be even remotely modern methods.
But what of the tens of thousands of artifacts found prior to the establishment of these modern methods? Should we ignore these artifacts?
They can't say that about the Bat Creek stone because the Bat Creek stone was found in the course of an official excavation by the Smithsonian Institution. Okay, then Bat Creek stone went to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington. They didn't understand it. They thought it was Cherokee since it came from Cherokee country. They did not realize it was Hebrew. And they published it upside down. And then they threw it in a box in the sub-basement of the Smithsonian. And ever after, it was poo-pooed until some Semitic scholars like Cyrus Gordon came and vindicated it. Cyrus Gordon, he was one of the great Semitic scholars of our generation. He talks about the writings that were found in this very area and how he was able to translate those things, translate that writing. And it was turned over. We're trying to figure out what type of Native American wrote this, and Cyrus Gordon turned it upside down. He recognized that it was actually Phoenician.
Phoenician, this older form of Hebrew, dates to the Old Testament Babylonian captivity and the scattering of Israel. Are there other linguistic evidences that may lend support to diffusionist ideas?
As a scholar of ancient languages, I have discovered that there are many symbols in the Micmac that are very close and similar to those of ancient Egyptian. About 700 BC in Egypt, there was a language that was developed or came in that was called Meroitic from the kingdom of Meroe, which many Egyptian scholars have even called Reformed Egyptian because it's so different than what the standard Egyptian that we know. And this Meroitic is very close to some of the signs of the Micmac.
All right. So yeah, you heard that form of Hebrew is very
old style, Old Testament, Babylonian times, very old times. And they found that in Georgia, right? In the mounds. They couldn't deny it. They couldn't deny that one. It was dug up by an archaeological team sent by the Smithsonian themselves. And so they, of course, tried to hide it, you know. Yeah, shout out to Netflix. Yeah, we're gonna continue. All right. Gonna get into this book now. The book is called Ancient Celtic America. It was written by William R. McGlone and Philip M. Leonard, 1986. Where in the introduction it says, in their study of selected southwestern petroglyphs sites, McGlone and Leonard make a strong case for the presence of messages written in the Ogham script, all right, in pre-Columbian America. Since this idea is virtually unthinkable to some scholars, the authors also provide the reader with a context of diffusion versus isolation as models for understanding ancient America. Ancient Celtic America approaches the problem of ancient writing in Colorado and adjacent states with the excitement of discovery, but open-mindedly. Conclusions are based on investigation, study, and analysis of on-site data. Epigraphy and archaeoastronomy are brought together to solve mysteries involving both. The authors collaborated several years and worked with others in team efforts to unravel meanings of petroglyphs bearing astronomical significance, particularly those recording equinoxes. The old argument that transoceanic voyages were impossible or unfeasible, or even just did not occur, have been proven, to put it simply, erroneously. All right, they already debunked all that. Voyages to and sometimes from America were made possible on ancient seas by the daring skill of the navigators. Right, remember the ancient American navigator videos that I did. The search for wealth, curiosity, and the often desperate desire of passengers to improve their lives. Crossing the oceans would have been as easy or as difficult in 500 BC as in 1500 AD, with some crossings taking place from the development of ocean-going sailing as early as 3000 BC. All right, we've been doing that here. Remember, 30,000 years of navigation, all right, down in Panama, Central America. I just want to bring you to chapter 1, pre-Columbian context with the New World. I'm going to read some information right there and show you some artifacts. It says here, many areas of the United States have produced claims of finds of Norse artifacts, most of which remain under a cloud of controversy, with supporters holding strongly for their authenticity and critics believing they have clearly debunked them. While most of these issues will not be discussed here, two that involve inscriptions, a subject more central to the theme of this book, will be considered. In Oklahoma, nearly a dozen stones have been found with inscriptions on them which appear to contain runic characters like those used by the early Norse. Some of the stones are small and portable, while others are large monoliths like the one at Heavener, Oklahoma, which is the central attraction of a state park. Some of these inscriptions do not translate in Old Norse, and others do not yield translations that inspire confidence. One other Norse artifact that must be mentioned is the famous Kensington stone from Minnesota. It is inscribed with runes which tell of a group of Norse and Goths on an exploration from Vinland, 10 of whom were killed. They had left 10 men with their ship at sea, 14 days' journey away. The stone is dated 1362. Its authenticity has been vigorously challenged by many skeptics on linguistic grounds, the circumstances of the find, and the appearance of the stone. Their verdict has been that the stone is a hoax. Yet supporters have argued strongly for its authenticity and proposed that it might have been made by members of the Paul Knudsen expedition mentioned previously. Denials based on linguistics have been the most severe, with claims that the inscriptions contains a mixture of runes and language not consistent with the 14th century as known to the various critical experts at the time they wrote. But this argument can boomerang if later research shows these inconsistencies were actually correct usage in the Old World. All right, how do they know what languages were here, right, in the true Old World? This would demonstrate authenticity, for if experts near the time of the finding did not know of these usages, a hoaxer surely could not have known. There's Old World, they found it here in Minnesota.
All right, you guys see that? They found this again in Minnesota. This here, chapter 3, American Epigraphy. The whole approach to ancient history, including medieval history of the Americas, has been based on false premises. That they are false is abundantly proved by the written records left for us to read by those very Americans whose history we have presumed to deduce on the basis of their discarded broken pots. All right, he didn't say Celts or Irish, he said Americans left that behind. Barry Fell. On the rocks of North America, there are dozens of inscriptions that are carved in ancient Old World script. They are written in a number of alphabets and languages, apparently by different peoples over a long period of time. Today, many of these inscriptions can be read largely due to the efforts of one man, Barry Fell, but his works have been rejected by much of the academic community, essentially without a fair hearing. The art of decipherment. Epigraphy is the deciphering of ancient inscriptions and the study of the language involved, all right? That's what epigraphy is. Some consider it an art, some a science. And although there is much science involved, something more is required. In addition to the extensive knowledge of alphabets and languages that must be learned, it also employs a basic natural gift that cannot be taught. American inscriptions. Finding New World epigraphic inscriptions in this hemisphere is not new. A number of Old World scripts were discovered here many years ago. Some were found in the last century, and some during the excavations of the burial mounds in the eastern United States. Table 4 shows details of several of the better-known discoveries. Not included are the principal Ogham finds, additional scripts from the southeast Colorado area, and others reported here for the first time. They will be separately covered in this and latter chapters. Many examples cited in the table are on man-portable stones, and some have been found in archaeological digs. They represent a variety of alphabet language combinations and come from widely separated areas of the Americas. All right, so this is the table he's talking about. Artifacts with inscriptions they found here in America. All right, you can see the name, Bornstone, Borndale, Massachusetts. It has Iberic Punic. It says here, found in 1600, 1650, 78. It says a proclamation of annexation, do not deface, by this handle takes possession. That's what the translation says, supposedly, right? Then you got the Susquehanna stones. All right, we'll get more in depth with that. Lower Susquehanna Valley, Pennsylvania. It has Iberic and Basque, 1940s. It was found. All right, and then you got the Newark Holy Stone. We've talked about that with the Hebrew 10 Commandments on it. That was found on the mounds of Ohio. The Grave Greek tablet has Iberic Semitic inscription on it, found in the 1830s. It says here, the mound raised on high for Tasak. This tile, his queen, caused to be made. All right, that's the translation, supposedly. Then you got the Braxton tablet, West Virginia, Iberic Punic inscriptions on it. It says here, the memorial of Teph. This title, his brother, caused to be made. The Bat Creek stone, we've gone over that with the Hebrew writing. Thurston Money Stone, Nashville, Tennessee. It has Libyan and Arabic. Then again, the Kensington stone has runic Norse inscriptions. Davenport stone, we went over that from the Mississippi mounds. Egyptian variant, Iberic and Libyan. All right, in the Davenport stone they found in the Mississippi mounds. Los Lunas stones, right, in New Mexico with the 10 Commandments in Paleo Hebrew, found in the 1870s or prior to that. Big Bend tablet, National Park, mostly Libyan. And it keeps going, you guys. You see, you guys can pause it and take a look. Cripple Creek Stone, Inyo Zodiac, the Alice Springs alphabet, the Ardmore in Oklahoma has Gaelic script. And you guys can see the translation, so you make sure to pause it and read it on your own. The Pontotoc Stone, all right, in Oklahoma, Battle Mountain. The Cuenca tablet, it has Libic and Arabic. Cueneca gold plate, that's in Ecuador. Paphian, Cyprian, Minoan, Hittite variant. Parentine. Then you got the Comalcalco bricks from Mexico. Lamboyeque gold plate from Peru. Paraiba, an Iberic, Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. It says it's a very long inscription that describes visits of Bronze Age Scandinavian King Wooden Lithie for copper trade. All right, copper in Michigan, the purest copper in the world right there. Newberry tablet has Cypromenoan variant. The Flora Vista tablet. All right, and then we got some images here real quick. 2 inscriptions from eastern Oklahoma. This is what they're talking about. You see this? These ain't fakes, they found these. The Pontotoc stone having both Iberic and Ogham writing. Inscription in Old Gaelic script located near Ardmore, Oklahoma, that served as an ancient boundary marker. Wow. All right, the true old world. This is what they're finding here, okay? Ancient America. They kept us from our school books. Yep. Then we got the Bat Creek stone right here. We got a whole video on this. Paleo-Hebrew, the Bat Creek tablet found in Tennessee in 1885, translated by Robert Stiglitz. Yep. So they officially found this. The Smithsonian dug it up themselves, so they can't say it was a hoax. Yep. They just try to, like, you know, put it backwards and put it in a box and just leave it alone until somebody found it again. It says here, Los Lunas inscription. Since it is located in the desert 16 miles west of Los Lunas, a little town south of Albuquerque, New Mexico, it is often called the Los Lunas Stone, the New Mexico Mystery Stone, Phoenician Rock, Inscription Rock, and the 10 Commandments stones are a few of the names others have given it. The controversy is usually between fraud and authenticity, but more properly it should be between modern and ancient dating of the time the inscription was carved. Was it inscribed before the time of Christ by Canaanite visitors, in the late 1880s by cowboys, or in the 1930s by college students? Based on the evidence available today, this question cannot be satisfactorily settled, and a neutral choice is made while the issue continues to be investigated. All right, so they cannot prove it wrong. Literally, that's what he's saying. We already know this is the ancient world. They found so much of this script here all over the place. Okay. It says abbreviated version of the 10 Commandments inscribed in a variant North Semitic script on a boulder west of Los Lunas, New Mexico. The original 10 Commandments on stone, the oldest stone containing the 10 Commandments, is in America. It's right here in Los Lunas, New Mexico. We've done videos about this as well. All right, check them out. Table 5 says ancient Old World scripts, phonetic value, right? Sephardic, Iberic, Neo-Punic, Aramaic, Los Lunas, all right? Tifina and Libyan Numidian. So look at Los Lunas and Aramaic. It's almost the same. Very similar to Iberic too. Now you guys see that? So Los Lunas and Aramaic, very similar. A lot of the letters. The Los Lunas inscription is located in a drop part way up hidden mountain, a low basalt capped mesa, less than a half mile across, with a height about 400 feet above the valley floor. Approaching from the east, one cannot see the mountain until quite near, because it lies in the valley of the Rio Puerco River, which flows alongside. The inscription is carved on a large basalt boulder weighing perhaps 80 to 100 tons on a 3 by 5 foot face of the stone. There are 8 equally spaced lines of characters, with 9th inserted between the first and second at the point of a caret. Strokes perhaps 2 lengths of an inch wide and up to 1 1/2 inches long form the letters. The inscription is an alphabet that appears to be related to North Semitic script, resembling Phoenician or Aramaic of perhaps the 8th century BC. The rock surface and letters have been repeatedly cleaned, scorched, and chalked by everyone from television crews to the Boy Scouts, so that little can be told about age from the rock's appearance. Dr. Frank Hibben, former professor of archaeology at the University of New Mexico, first saw the stone in the early 1930s and said to the authors that it was covered with lichen and appeared very old at that time. The stone has been the subject of numerous investigations, and a variety of interpretations over the past 50 years has been translated into Navajo, Greek, and Hebrew. Various writers have claimed it to be a treasure map, a message left by Romans, a Mormon inscription, a message of the 10 lost tribes of Israel, and the work of an unhappy Spanish explorer, who secretly was a Jew. Some believe it is ancient, and others think that it was inscribed in the late 19th or early 20th century. At least two hoaxes involving other inscribed stones have been perpetrated based on it. One was a group of fake cuneiform tablets planted near it, and the other a trail of stones having letters imitating those of the Los Lunas stones, with old world artifacts buried near them. The present authors were instrumental in exposing both hoaxes by means of epigraphy. Both were found to be of quite recent origin. The only acceptable translation of the inscription is in Hebrew, as a version of the Ten Commandments given in the Bible in Exodus 20:14 and 20. The presence of the semi-vowels used in ancient Hebrew, along with the grammar and syntax, argue for the Hebrew biblical translation. The Davenport Stone. There's another example of Old World writing in America that clearly illustrates the nature of epigraphic controversy and the degree of polarization present between opposing sides. Involved is the discovery of an inscribed piece of slate in an Indian mound in the last century. All right, the Davenport Stone we talked about is they actually found this. Real scientists and archaeologists is going to explain here who they are. At that time, many small scientific groups or academies were formed around the country through which amateurs could engage in the pursuit of biology, geology, archaeology, and other sciences. One of the more prominent of these was the Davenport Academy of Natural Sciences of Davenport, Iowa. The academy had its own publication, in which a number of the authors, in addition to its own members, published papers, and it sponsored periodic meetings of small groups representing the different disciplines. Most popular was archaeology, as this was an area noted for its Indian mounds and with other opportunities for collecting artifacts. All right, so they found this Davenport stone. This is the stone right here. We've shown it again in a video. It says here that then in 1976, Barry Fell in his book America BC showed that one of the tablets, figure 16, containing trilingual inscription in modified Egyptian, hieroglyphics, Iberic, and Libyan alphabets, and argued that it was epigraphically authentic. He says that the latter two tell that the stones gives the secret of regulating the calendar. The Egyptian describes how that is done by attaching a mirror to a pillar so that it will cast a reflection on a certain stone on the March equinox, and says that a festival of the new year should be held then. The tablet also shows a scene he interprets as the Digit festival of Osiris.
All right, so I just want to real quick show this right here. All right. Sorry. And as you guys can see in this book, The Mound Builders, from Works and Relics by Stephen D. Feet, PhD, and member of all these Academy of Societies, right? Historical. 1892, the book, and as you can see, the Davenport tablet. And this is a real archaeological find. This is not a hoax. They found this too. They're scientists, they're archaeologists and everything. And Davenport. All right. So that's what they were talking about right there. I just want to show you guys many sources we've gone over regarding that. I'm gonna go back to the video.
We continue in the book America BC, Ancient Settlers in the New World by Barry Fell. We're on page 19, chapter 2. It says here, when American archaeologists first began to send me inscriptions for decipherment and translation, I was astonished to learn that such documents exist here. All my earlier work had been on ancient tablets and cave inscriptions of the Old World, records of the Sea Peoples of the Bronze Age and early Iron Age, some 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. What I now began to receive from unimpeachable sources in North America were essentially the same types of document, engraved in stone, and either excavated from some archaeological site, recorded from cliff faces, or photographed on massive rocks, discovered by the early colonists. I had never seen such materials mentioned or illustrated in books on the archaeology of the Americas, and indeed was oblivious of their existence. How is it, I asked my friend and colleague, Professor George Carter of Texas, that you are sending me all these materials? Has no one studied them before? His answer was, for 25 years I have been knocking on the study doors of professors of Greek and Latin, each time to be told that the objects I had in my hand looked like writing, but that it is not Greek or Latin, nor any script known to my consultant. So I emerged no wiser than before. Continuing, I, for my part, though a marine biologist, have spent much of my life studying the ancient voyages of people who left inscriptions on remote islands, which of course could only have been approached by sea. As a marine biologist, I felt obliged to examine this evidence, for it would have a bearing on how the dispersal of man, plants, and animals might be influenced by ocean currents and winds. So the decipherment of ancient inscriptions, the art of epigraphy, became my second specialty. It was through my fellow biologists at Harvard that Carter and I were introduced to each other's work. I learned that he had a maze-defying collection of American inscriptions, in the hope that their eventual decipherment might explain or illuminate his own researches. And he, for his part, now found a man who claimed to recognize the languages on his tablets. We soon found that the emergent information is consistent with our other independent investigations, and so the seal was set on a collaboration that proved most rewarding. When word began to appear in linguistic and archaeological periodicals of this joint effort, other archaeologists and some linguists contacted us. A flow of information now began that soon swelled to proportions far beyond anything either George Carter or I had dreamed. The Epigraphic Society was established, and we began to publish our findings, as well as those of others, in a form readily available to other interested people, both professional and amateur. So began the busiest and most productive period in my life, an exciting journey through space and time, bringing new friendships in a score of countries. All right, so I'm glad I was able to read this, because we're going to get into the Epigraphic Society's books and publications, articles they've done on all this ancient stuff they found here in America. Great articles, a lot of scholars involved. Many volumes exist of their publications, and they're very hard to get a hold of. Only a couple of volumes you can find online. The rest are very hard to get to. We're going to definitely read from some of them that we can find. Some great information I got coming. All right, so before we continue, I just want to show you guys on the previous page, I have this right here. And it says here, examples of Iberian inscription from North America, left. All right, this was found here. And from Europe, right. All right, you see, very similar. The American inscription engraved on a stone tablet was found in 1838 at a depth of 60 feet in a large burial mound at Grave Creek, West Virginia, together with a skeleton and copper arm rings. It was all once recognized by Professor Ralphs of Copenhagen as being Iberian, though the script had not at that time been deciphered. Recent studies show that the language of the tablet is Punic, Phoenician. All right, this was found here in West Virginia, okay?
So West Virginia, so remember when they're saying that the first Irish might have come, some of these Scottish people might have come from the Iberian Peninsula first. This is the language they were supposedly speaking. All these people coming from the Iberian, this ancient like Iberian Punic. So what we're saying is that they have an older form of that found here in the Americas, more classic, more archaic form of all that. And that's verified by the experts, the epigraphical experts, all right, that study this stuff, guys. This is, again, the Grave Creek stone or Grave Creek tablet down in West Virginia.
Written in the form of alphabet used in Spain during the first millennium BC, it may be translated as follows, the writing reading from right to left. The mound raised on high for Tasek, this tile, his queen caused to be made. Right, that's what it says. Remember, we read this already. So again, just want to emphasize, so a lot of these alphabets were only in use, like it says here, first millennium BC. Like if you were making a hoax or forging this, you would have to know a lot, because most forgers or hoaxers don't know this. These things were discovered later on. The alphabet of the tablet was deciphered by Spanish scholars and published by the English epigrapher D. Deringer in 1968. The language is basic Semitic, and all words occur in standard literary Semitic dictionaries, such as that of Professor Ware. The decipherment of the tablet is explained by Fell in Occasional Publications, Volume 3, All right, that's the actual publications I was referring to earlier. This is volume 3 they're talking about. So again, many volumes exist, but they've been hiding all this stuff from us. These are scholars telling you. The European inscription, with which scholars such as Raffand and Schoolcraft compared the Grave Creek inscription, and shown to the right of the Grave Creek tablet, is written in the Iberian alphabet and in the Punic language, but alternate lines read from right to left, and then from left to right. This is called boutrophaedon, meaning a plowman's walk. Some more images. Right here, they have an example of ancient phallic stone at Ballintaggart County, Kerry, Ireland, apparently re-engraved in Christian times with the name of deceased person. All right, so this is from Christian times, not so long ago. So the first part of the inscription is a rendering of the Celtic name, also known from a Cornish inscription. Makiari or Magari, the last part cannot be a person interpreted. All right, so this is from the Christian times in Ireland. And then they showing you an example, right, of an older artifact containing Iberian ogam inscribed stone from Vermont.
All right, Vermont.
All right, they're showing you because it's the same thing.
Where are they coming from?
The American ogam inscriptions use the Iberian form of ogam in which vowels are omitted. These are much older than the Irish ogam and date from the late Bronze Age. All right, this is what we were talking about earlier. Again, they got inscriptions over there in Ireland, right? But they're not as old as the inscriptions they find here in America, the same inscriptions.
All right, do you guys understand that? That's what I'm saying. The experts are telling you that the inscriptions being found in the Americas of Ogam and all this old world writings and languages and or inscriptions, right? It's actually older here. It's older. The experts, anything you say is just opinion. The experts say otherwise. All right,
which is ogam. It's much older here in America. What does that tell you? Again, where is the origin? If those are younger, again, these are much older than the Irish ogam and date from the late Bronze Age, as is shown by Punic letters associated with them of dated types. The inscription here reads Stone of Bel, but when complete, it probably reads Stone of Beltane, Joseph D. Germano. The alphabets and languages found on American inscriptions are fully discussed later in this book, but the representative examples on pages 21 to 22 show how the American colonists or visitors wrote in the first millennium BC. Note the similarity to corresponding examples from Europe. While John Williams and I roamed the New England backcountry for Celtic inscriptions, another colleague was making notable finds in the Midwest and Southwest. This was Gloria Farley, an intrepid explorer of the cliffs and caves that border the banks of the Arkansas and Cimarron rivers and their tributaries. Armed with a camera, snakebite antivenom, rubber latex for making impressions, and a ladder, Gloria systematically assembled a remarkable series of records of visits and settlements by European voyagers who had ascended the Mississippi, then turned west to follow the Arkansas River, eventually to reach the Cimarron along the border between Oklahoma and Colorado. Her discovery showed that some Celts had followed this southern route, and that Libyans and Punic-speaking Iberians and even one Basque king had ventured into the heartland of the continent centuries before Christ, and Gloria Farley will be remembered for these fine contributions to our national archives, a bright example of grit and determination in the face of discouragement on the part of those who might have helped her. It's called Pre-Columbian Resources.
All right, so real quick, when we're talking about Gloria Farley, right? Let's see, there we go. So Gloria Farley, we've actually reading her book. We have to get into chapter 4. We left off in chapter 3. Her book, In Plain Sight, Old World Records in Ancient America by Gloria Farley. She literally did what they were talking about trekking forest with ladders, you know, this lady, oh, you know, older lady, you know, not young. She's not young, but she's not old either, like a, you know, like a elderly, you know, she can handle herself and everything, but still climbing, you know, climbing these big cliffs and stuff and going all over the forest and then getting all these inscriptions. The book is great. I have the first 3 chapters already on my Patreon if you're interested. Check out the previous videos we have on this. This is one of them. the original ancient seafarers, the discovery of Europe by Americans. We go into it. What we show here in this chapter, I believe it's the first chapter of her book, is how she found so many inscriptions of ships all over the Americas. All right. So you guys can see yeah, so like full ships, like full designs. So this was in Utah, as you can see. So she was comparing it. All right, this was found in Colorado. All right, so many ships. This is the cover of the video. In case you're interested in checking this out, we did that live. So that's who he was talking about, Gloria Farley, who also contributed to a lot of the epigraphic studies of ancient America. All right, back to the potentials. A comparison of Old World and New World petroglyphs by Margaret, who might have helped her. It's called Pre-Columbian Resources Potentials. A comparison of Old World and New World petroglyphs by Margaret S. Henke. All right, and we continue on page 9 of this book, continuing to talk about the runic letters found, inscriptions, and these stones, these tablets, Ibero-Punic languages. It says that such inscriptions are not found only in Oklahoma, as it was just telling us before. Moving forth, similar inscriptions have been found in Missouri. Gloria Farley has reported a stone found near Willard, Missouri in 1970. It is a sandstone boulder approximately 3 feet square and a foot thick lying in a pasture. Although it was damaged by a bulldozer, 5 letters 5 to 7 inches high remain. These have characteristics which tie them to Numidian or perhaps Carian. Dyson reports that most Missouri petroglyphs are found on bluffs overlooking streams and rivers. He reports particularly on the inscriptions found near Washington State Park. Although the petroglyphs do contain some large designs, they also contain many symbols. He describes these as concentric circles, bird tracks, snakes, spirals, cups, rectangles, and squares, sun symbols, oval horseshoe shapes with a bisecting line ending in a cup and a solid circle with an attached triangle, like a keyhole. All these symbols, as described, are reminiscent of Iberic script. He also reports that a large sun symbol was destroyed by road builders near the park. Missouri, with its rivers and bluffs, is an ideal state for petroglyphs, but much work remains to be done in recording them, all right? Hear what he's saying? Movement into the United States east of the Rocky Mountains occurred chiefly along the tributaries of the Mississippi. The Rio Grande, however, is also a navigable river system and seems to have provided the passageway into the southwest. Here also the rock art betrays a foreign presence. A Libyan inscription was found by Forrest Kirkland under a rock overhang near the Pecos River. According to Fell, the Libyan letters read left to right, sh, shush, and QANB, and translate crew of Shishonk, the king. There were several kings by this name who ruled Libya and Egypt between 1000 and 800 BC. Pebbles painted with geometric designs in Texas show similarities to pebbles from early European caves. Various uses have been suggested for the pebbles. They may be charms or perhaps counters. A few may be anthropomorphic. Since it is very rare to find painted pebbles, this may be a significant link to the Old World. Of all the western states where the BLM has major land management responsibilities, New Mexico has to date supplied the most material, suggesting pre-Columbian contact. Northern New Mexico has yielded a significant inscription on BLM land which has Libyan characteristics. Randy Morrison, BLM Albuquerque district archaeologist, traced the inscription from photographs of the top of sandstone outcrop about 5 miles north of the San Juan River. Fell considers the script to be Libyan Tifina. The language, according to Fell, is Classical Arabic of the Iberian dialect. The translation will read as follows. First group, this place is for the sacrament of marriage. Second group, in seclusion implant semen in the maiden. And third group, as a token of marriage.
Bolus Ayard, professor of ancient languages at the University of Colorado, independently studied the same inscription and reported that it was in Libyan script and said that it had to do with a fertility or marriage sacrament in a hidden place. However, he believes the words are more akin to Berber than classical Arabic. According to Ayard, this was a common marriage, fertility practice in the ancient Middle East. All right? These are professors letting you know what the inscription says. The area near where the inscription is found has several other archaeological features. One ruin is a few miles away, another almost 50 miles distant. Several cairns can also be found in the immediate area. The entire area should be surveyed for more information. A similar inscription was recorded 4 miles northwest of Chaco Canyon Monument by Dr. Ricky and bears the designation Pierce Site. The inscription is very weathered. The symbol on the lower left may not be a part of the original inscription. The inscription is a good example of the problem which faces researchers in the field. The figures are fairly standard forms in many different scripts. Thus, the possible transcriptions run a wide gamut of scripts and languages. Each transcription so far requires some modification of letters or slight inconsistency. Continuing, it says here, studies in Chaco Canyon have yielded one tan on cream potsherd with unusual lettering. The piece appears to be a rimmed shirt of a Cayatuf Lana black on white bowl, a type common for the period in the eastern Arizona and northwestern and central New Mexico. The pendant triangles are a common design element for such bowls. The style is usually dated between AD 800 to 900. What is different about the potsherd is the calligraphy, which is best matched with Semitic script, particularly square Hebrew or some Syriac offshoot of the Aramaic. A suggested transcription is SYWN, which translates as Sion. The forms used date from the early centuries of the Christian era. This was the first find of its type recorded, but recently in February 1978, another potsherd with a potential Semitic script was found and reported by Morrison. It is a red mesa black on white shirt found in the Gallup area. So far, it has not been deciphered. Another apparently Semitic script was recorded in May 1977 by Brad Noisad on a smooth sandstone cliff near an arroyo north of Chaco Canyon. The script is clearly Semitic and has been transliterated, reading from right to left to G to B by Buchanan. So far, an adequate translation has not been given. The use of the dot or holum above the left arm of the central symbol indicates that it cannot date earlier than the 6th century AD. The scripts closely resemble late Aramaic of early Hebrew coin script. All right, they're finding this where? In Chaco Canyon. All right, so as I said, we're going to get into some of the articles from the Epigraphic Society occasional papers series they have, publications. This is from volume 25, an article here. You will find that on page 136 of volume 25, if you get a hold of volume 25. And it's talking about the Hoven Weep inscription, a suggested decipherment of the Hoven Weep inscription by Donald Buchanan. In the fall of 1981, I became aware of the Hoven Weep inscription and responded to its challenge. I had been told that Dr. Barry Fell had worked on this inscription and requested that I do not be told Dr. Fell's findings because I did not want to prejudice my own investigation by knowing the answers ahead of time. In any case, I never got to see what Barry came up with. I present below my suggested decipherment. If I differ from Barry, the difference is amicable. The inscription is shown below. This was copied from a drawing, not a photograph. For the provenance of this inscription, I direct the reader to Philip Leonard Hovenwebb's is a Ute Indian word meaning deserted valley. The Hovenwebb Canyon site is in Mesa Verde National Park, which was established as a national monument on March 2nd, 1923. It is located about 43 miles west of Cortez, Colorado. All right, so this is the inscription right here. The dotted line is not part of the inscription, but represents a division between the two parts of the inscription caused by the structure of the rock face. I suggest that the characters might be Egyptian. The inscription thus involves hieroglyphic, hieratic, and demotic symbols. I read them in the following order. This could be the hieroglyph, and right, Semit or Set, which can mean foreign country or desert or mountainous land. All right, he's showing the symbol to sow, to seed, and then he's showing this. I read it as F-A-K-H at A-T-A or Faghet Ata. He says the third character is the hieroglyph. This one, read by Bush, by itself is a combination with certain other characters that means womb. Here it is apparently used for its phonetic value. Okay, that's what he's saying that is. To make, to cause to make offerings. Then he's saying this symbol is this, which looks just like it, the hieroglyph of a foot. Here I believe it is phonetic for Ba, which equals soul or spirit. Then he says this is this hieroglyph for house or palace. It can also mean to come forth or to go out, to depart. Okay, so that's his interpretation. This is, very similar. Why not? Here we have two characters poorly drawn. He's saying this symbol, and which he says is this and this. I read it as to go, depart, emphasizing the previous hieroglyphic. This one right here looks just like this Egyptian hieroglyphic. He's saying the masculine pronoun for thou, thee, thy. Read symbolically as ka, it could mean behold. And he breaks down this symbol, which means feast, festival to him. Yeah, he compares this to this, rise to thee, or possibly thy rising. We got another symbol he's comparing to this hieroglyph, chief, master, celestial being. He is over. So you guys kind of get the idea of what he's doing, comparing all these symbols. He's saying, I rendered this rather freely as follows. When sowing, we cause to be made offering to the soul departed. Thy festal food offering rise to the King of heaven, to the star of God of Egypt. All right, that's found there in America. So also in volume 25 of the Epigraphic Society Occasional Papers, we have an inscription from Brazil, and it's called Some Thoughts on an Inscription from Brazil by Donald B. Buchanan. This inscription was found on a stone discovered in 1972 near the town of Gaspar in Brazil. The attached photo was made in 1988. Mahan, Jr., Director of Education and Research at the nearby Columbus Museum of Arts and Crafts, Columbus, Georgia. Mahan, an expert on American Indian ethnology and archaeology, has been specializing on the Jushis, who once inhabited the area, but who were forced out and in 1836 were resettled in Oklahoma, where they still perpetuate their ancestral religion. He had noted that one of the Juchi agricultural festivals had too many general and detailed resemblances to the Feast of Tabernacles, prescribed in Leviticus 23 to be accidental. All right, we've done a video on this. Make sure to check out my video on the Juchi and this feast they're talking about, and also the Bat Creek stone. Yep. He suspects. Remember, the Bat Creek stone is an Old Testament type of writing, Babylon times they're talking about. They don't even have it like that over there, man. They've got this more in Americas, and it's in the Juchi, so-called Juchi area, and the Juchi are known to have been sea peoples and everything, and they have a lot of connections with people in other parts of America. That both the Hebrew and Juchi celebrations were reflexes of the same East Mediterranean milieu of the Bronze Age. Continues, says, accordingly, Mahan suspected that the Medcaf stone found on old Juchi terrain might be inscribed in a system of writing with Near East origins in the second millennia BC. In May 1968, Mahan sent me a cast of the stone with a request for my opinion. The affinities of the script are with the Aegean of the latter half of the second millennium BC. Inform the signs go with those of the Aegean syllabary. represented by Minoan linear A and Mycenaean linear B. Two of the signs of the Metcalfe stone might be compared, as we shall note below, with syllabic symbols in linear A and B, or alternatively with letters of the Phoenician alphabet. Should the latter turn out to be correct, the stone might be said to reflect a stage intermediate between the syllabary and alphabet. All right, and this is what they're talking about. There's a picture here in the book. All right, again, Metcalfe stone from Georgia with that ancient script on it. You guys can see they found this in, again, Georgia, the Metcalfe stone. All right, so for the dismount, we're going to get into this book, The Search for Lost America, The Mysteries of the Stone Ruins.
Oh,
Salvatore.
well, we're not done yet, but we're going to read this book too, you know.
Michael Trento, all right? So we're just briefly introducing these authors and books. Again, we're going to get into this book more thoroughly in other videos.
Yep.
Quickly get into it right now. In chapter 3, page 39, it says here, in the 1940s, the late Dr. William Walker Strong, a professor of physics, collected a number of cubical blocks of stone from a plowed field in the vicinity of Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. The stones bore several kinds of grooves and markings, which for years went unexplained, save for Dr. Strong's insistence that some of the obscure patterns resembled Phoenician letters. He had originally thought the markings were ancient script because many of the stone blocks bore grooves which were deep and appeared to be alphabetic in design. There's finding an inscribed axe in Pemberton, New Jersey. All right, and this is the people involved: the American Ethnological Society, the American Ethnological Proceedings, Dr. Evans' letter that he sent there. And this is the inscriptions they're talking about right here. Dr. Fell interpreted the markings as follows. The script is Tartessian. The language is Iberic. This is what it was found there in New Jersey, all right? Iberic. On an axe, stand firm, on guard, parry, close in, and strike. For the vocabulary, he went to a standard Arabic dictionary. His analysis is shown below. All right, Arabic, look at that. The inscriptions on the Pemberton stone axe cannot be scoffed at. For further up the Delaware River, we have evidence of other stone inscribed with markings also believed to be Iberic script. It says here inscribed amulets from Delaware Water Gap, New Jersey. There have been other inscribed stones found in abundance in the Delaware River Valley. As usual, regional archaeologists, unable to explain the meaning of the etched symbols, have simply put the artifacts aside. All right, so I just want to show some of the images here of what they were just talking about. So this is the phallic amulet, Delaware Water Gap, New Jersey. Right, these are the inscriptions on it. This is a stone found at Inwood, a wooded section of northwest Manhattan in 1894. It says that it may be a vowelless form of Ogham. Let me back up real quick. You guys can see. Again, they found that in Manhattan. And they're saying that that alphabet may have been used by Iberian Celts as early as 800 BC. All right, they found that in Manhattan.
Iberian Celts, right? So who was the Iberian Celts that eventually made it onto Ireland, Scotland, right? And who were these people? What was their background, their culture, right? What we're really talking about: sons of Noah, sons of Shem, sons of Jacob, right? And now they found in all this Ogham, old Ogham in Vermont, Manhattan, New England. All right, we got a future video on Greater Ireland. All right, tune in, tune in.
Now they're comparing this Celtic sanctuary at Buchenberg, Stamberg, Bavaria, Germany. Go ahead and take a look at this, like mound, you know, walls, right? And they're comparing it to these mounds in Ohio. So geometric works found in Ohio and Indiana during the 19th century by early settlers. American archaeologists believe these works to be American Indian in origin, all right, from Baldwin, Ancient America. We've read that book. So yeah, that's pretty interesting, right? Now I just want to show this map right here real quick. I know it's very small, but you see all these dots, right? Look, it says plate 3, map showing the distribution of mounds gutted by Cyrus Thomas on behalf of the Smithsonian Institution in the late 1890s.
What?
Gutted?
Do you guys understand? Gutted? Look at all the little dots. I know it's hard to see, but oh man, gutted, huh? Destroyed, sacked,
destroyed, excavated. Look at all that. Look at all these dots. Let me zoom in. You guys can see, look at all these dots. Gutted mounds. You see that? all over the Mississippi. Look how it goes up the Mississippi, the real Nile, right? Now look at this terracotta. It says here, female terracotta figurine from a deposit cache, Isla Plana, Ibiza, in Spain, right? You see how it looks? Now they found the exact same thing right here. And that's from Tennessee, a kneeling female from a burial mound near Idlewild, Obion County, Tennessee. Look at the face and the head, just like this piece right here from Spain. You see that? Same exact thing. Here's an example of the Bat Creek stone. All right, we've gone over this. It says the inscribed stone found in Bat Creek Mount, London County, Tennessee, as published by the Smithsonian Institution. The chief excavator, Cyrus Thomas, reported that the engraved characters on it are beyond question letters of the Cherokee alphabet, invented about 1821. It has since been determined that the symbols are Hebraic script from the 2nd century AD. All right, they try to hide it. They were looking at it backwards. They try to say it's Cherokee from the 1800s. Stop lying. That's Paleo-Hebrew.
Stop lying.
Aramaic, ancient.
Yeah.
The Halley stone, the inscribed block, was actually found near the Lackawaxen Delaware River confluence. The inscription, shot for photo, has not yet been deciphered. All right, this is another inscribed stone they found in the Delaware River. Look at this. They haven't deciphered this yet. All right.
Look at that.
Epigraphy.
Yup.
Now look at this urn right here.
Look at that.
I'm gonna zoom into it so you guys can look at it. That looks like Egyptian, right? Hieroglyphics, just like their walls. But where's the origin of ancient Egypt? So it says that this metal urn found near the confluence of the Shenango and Susquehanna rivers, Binghamton, New York. It has Punic and Egyptian style, may date to 1500 BC. All right, they found this in New York. See what they found here in New York? Where's the true ancient world? Look at this. What's that? The dragon? What's that here on the sides? You see what they found here? Take a good look. Break the spell.
Break the spell.
All right? Break the spell. New York. Now they're showing this. See this little piece right here, figurine? This is the drawing. It says seated person pendant carved from obsidian found along the banks of the Delaware River, not far from Hawk's Nest Mountain by Antonia Ryder. Inset illustration is a small bronze figurine cast in Egyptian style that was uncovered in Carthage. It dates to the 6th century BC. The resemblance between the Delaware find and the Carthaginian artifact is striking. All right, it's a side view. All right, this is the one they found over there. Where's the true original one? Right here in the Americas, again, in stone. Not in drawings, in stone.
Stone, baby.
It says here engraved pebbles, Lackawaxen, Pennsylvania. It says one of the teams hauled a 500-pound granite block from a river island near where the Holly stone was found. The cut stone contained many parallel grooves and striations along its surface. As yet, the markings on this stone, as well as those cut into the Holly stone, remain uninterpreted. But it is important to note that similar stones with grooves and slashes have been found throughout New England and Europe. Based on these preliminary findings, ground disturbance patterns, and possibly 2 inscribed stones, a test trench excavation was performed at a potential occupation site some 100 yards from the Lackawaxen Delaware confluence. At a depth of about 3 feet, a small inscribed pebble was found associated with tiny flakes of chipped stone. No further artifacts were found. An investigation of the area showed that many community people living near the rivers over the years had found similarly inscribed pebbles. Jody Lynn Kahn, a student at Delaware Valley Community College, brought such an inscribed stone to this center's attention. The stone is indeed interesting, for it seems to belong to the same series as the similarly 3- and 4-hulled rough engraved pebbles found in the Tras os Montes dolmens and other funeral sites in northern Portugal. These objects were either tied to the body of the deceased by the threaded holes, or else they served as charms attached to the clothing or necklace of a living person. Although the Tras os Montes examples have been previously read as Basque, it has been difficult to determine whether the ones we found near the Lackawaxen were indeed Basque or Celtic Iberian. They were, however, likely to be one or the other. Either way, it's either or, as the culture was the same. The date, if it had been a European find, would be around 800 BC. It is unlikely that the stones found by Mark and other people along the two rivers were forgeries, because the full implications of Celt-Iberian script were only recognized as recently as 1975. You see that? People didn't even know that language. So how would people be making forgeries with that language or writing if it wasn't recognized until 1975? Furthermore, its reportage in past years has been infrequent and limited.
So they're not learning these old inscriptions, how to decipher them until the 60s and 70s over there in Europe. All right. So they're finding all this stuff way before that. So who knew how to write this stuff before so it makes no logic, that anybody else made it, because nobody really knew about this inscriptions or language or anything like that.
To professional epigraphic journals. Thus, the combined result of our fieldwork brought to light a cache of marked stones and an interesting deposition site near confluence of the Laxawaxen and Delaware rivers. The stones were inscribed with symbols unknown to American Indians, which have been interpreted as a variety of script that was used in ancient Europe. All right. So we're gonna end it here for now.
All right. So we got another. Hold on, guys. I got another one.
All right, we're gonna continue.
Hold on. I got more recordings I got here. Let me see if I went over some of these other ones. Okay. Appreciate you guys' patience, during the live.
All right. Moving on, it says most historic, Alaska, 1926. Writings recorded Norse expedition through the Northwest in 1010, the year's 1010. You hear that?
So real quick, we're gonna get into some, I guess, newspaper articles too, recordings I've done. Shout out to Waking Up with Analog or The Archivist. Shout out to Ben, pulling up all these newspaper articles, posting them on his Twitter account or X, I guess it's called now, X account, whatever it's called. And he got his YouTube channel, so check it out,
Norse, who's the Norse? The Danes, Danites, Vikings? Says here, most historic, Stephenson believes find antedates Indians in Northwest. Says here, Spokane, Washington, November 22nd. Arctic explorer Stephenson, who was here on a lecture tour, pronounced the rock writings near Spokane not runic, but made by a prehistoric race, antedating the Indians thousands of years. It's not even runic, it's even older than that, they're saying. Professor Oluf Opsjon last summer said the writing recorded the Norse expedition through the Northwest in 1010. You hear that? That's what it's recording. They found that. Stephenson said the markings are not similar to the runics as I know. All right, so it keeps going. That's the clip we got. As you guys can see, they found, so you see what they found in Alaska, and it was reported in 1926. Continuing, it says here, runic inscriptions from 1051. All right, so more correlation near Great Falls in Potomac, Virginia. All right, so now we're in Virginia. It says the Constitutional Union of Washington City reports that a runic inscription has been discovered near the Great Falls in the Potomac, that it records the death of an Icelandic woman named Suasu, who died in 1051. All right, 1051. Listen, that the discovery proves the visit of the Northmen to our shores 5 centuries before the time of Columbus, and that they made explorations in land. It is also stated that the fragments of teeth, bronze trinkets, coins, and other curious things have been exhumed from the grave. All right, more correlation of possible Norsemen, Danites, Vikings over here. But who are the Vikings really? The 6 kings? Could it be Danites mostly, mixed with a little bit of the Sumerians, the Gauls, becoming known as the Danes? And could these people have originally been coming out of The true old world, the true promised land.
All right, continue. In this book, Unearthing Ancient America, the lost sagas of conquerors, castaways, and scoundrels. Continue on chapter 1 of this book. We're talking about the ancient Michigan's solar eclipse tablets now by David Allen Dale. On September 3rd, 1896, a slate tablet was unearthed at what is now called Rowland Township, Isabella County in Michigan. Ironically, an artifact that gives evidence of old world visitors who predated Columbus by more than 1,000 years was found in a county that was named for Columbus' own benefactress, Queen Isabella of Spain. The slate tablet has been categorized as fake by authoritative archaeologists. It nonetheless possesses internal evidence that dates a previously unknown and unwanted community of Egyptian Christian Gnostic Coptic mound builders who created thousands of slate, copper, clay, and stone artifacts, not to mention considerable collection of earthworks. All right, that's the hijack. America's a true old world. Remember, these people are coming with an out of Africa theory. Much has been written about this Coptic connection, first by Henriette Mertz in her 1980 book, The Mystic Symbol, and later by this author investigator in many articles and research papers. Our conclusions came from slightly different points of reference, but we agreed on the basic fact that Coptic Christians were in North America around the 4th century AD. Regardless of academic and professional disbelief, the Michigan mound builders were called Talegewi by the Lenni Lenape, otherwise known as the Delaware Indians, and that name is certainly Hebrew. In Hebrew, tel means a hill or a mound, tel e plural, and gu, y signifies my nation or nations. So Talegewi in Hebrew indicates mound nations, and that is what they were. The Coptic people merely moved in with the previous Old World inhabitants who were all a bit like them, people of the book. I just want to read what it says here. All right, so this is one of the tablets they found. This is like a photocopy of a picture they had. It says several calendrical tablets dated to heretical Christian refugees in 5th century North America were recovered from Michigan's Indian mounds. All right, so that's the hijack when they're talking about Christian refugees, so-called Christians. They don't know that from looking at this tablet that it was Christian refugees. They add in that part. But this is what they're finding in the Michigan Indian mounds. It says early in 1991, Evan Hansen of Beryl, Utah, sent me a Xerox copy of a single page from a book in the Eisenhower collection, showing the largest of the so-called Michigan tablets excavated from the state's numerous mounds beginning in the 1840s. It showed a particular artifact in plate 37, reverse of 36 from page 33, the previous page 38, had the reverse side of the same plate shown an apparent rendering of the Old Testament flood. A common theme found throughout the tablets, identified as plate 36, black slate, Eisenhower collection, subtitled Rowland Township, Isabella Co., Michigan, September 3rd, 1896. An ocean migration 1600 years ago must have been tortuous, which is perhaps why so many depictions of the flood of Noah are found among the Michigan artifacts. Having recently endured such a crossing themselves, so they're adding conjecture when they're talking about all people came. They find in the flood and the tablets, that doesn't mean necessarily that people had to have come. That's why they're depicting it. Hansen's guessed that the particular artifact in question represented a meteor he believed was responsible for the biblical deluge. What are meteors? According to the 1828 Webster's Dictionary for Dragon, definition number 2. A meteor, a comet, is a fiery serpent, a dragon. Dracon. I saw something altogether different, however, a solar eclipse panel. I had previously deciphered fundamentally similar imagery in New Mexico at a place known as Hidden Mountain, where I was able to coax a very specific reference from a Hebrew inscribed boulder. September 15, 107 BC, the earliest recorded date in North American history. So archaeoastronomy was not something new to me when I saw the Michigan artifact. All right, so he's talking this, a solar eclipse panel. That's what he's saying it is. Continuing, the person says, however, it is only one representative of a larger body of related artifacts. So that's not the only tablet they found there, uncovered all over Michigan and neighboring areas found during a period from about 1840 to 1910. These ancient artifacts must be considered and fairly evaluated with an open mind. Of course, there have been cases of fraud in all areas of archaeology, all right, not just here in America. There even may be some cases of fraud among the Michigan relics, but good investigative science should be applied, not dogma, not disdain before investigation.
Now, people are trying to say this is a fraud, but if you look at it closely, right, I'm going to show you something we actually gone over before in an old video. Something they found in the Mississippi mountains, and this is official stuff they have found, declared to be official, not a hoax. All right, so I'm going to bring you back to this video real quick just to corroborate what I'm saying. I can show you guys, and this is official discovery. We have a great video on the Mississippi Valley, ancient civilized land, right? As it says here. Make sure to check this video out. We show what they found, the tablets they found over there in this area of North America, and it's almost similar to what they found with the Michigan tablets. And this is not declared a hoax. In this part of the video, about 36 minutes in, we're talking about the Mound Builders, their works and relics by Stephen D. Keat, PhD. He's a member of the Antiquarian Society, Oriental Society, Fellow of American Association of Sciences, member of the Victoria Institute, also Society of the Ethnography, member, and all these others, right? Historical Society of Virginia, Wisconsin, Rhode Island, Davenport Academy of Science, editor of American Antiquarian and Oriental Journal, all right? So he's very prominent. This is what he's going to show us right here. These are some of the hieroglyphics they found on their tablets here in Mississippi. Here another example, plate 2, it says here characters duplicated on the sandstone tablet. Again, this is coming out of Mississippi. And then we got the Davenport tablet right here, as you guys can see. And look at all these hieroglyphics and writing. You see people kind of gathered together here, holding hands, people laying down or dead. This is the Davenport tablet and the Michigan tablet side by side. You see some of the characters and stuff. You can almost see them here. This ain't declared a hoax, so why would this be declared a hoax? You know, it's just because it doesn't fit their narratives and it wasn't found by them, so they can kind of throw it off. All right, so just a comparison. To me, it's very similar almost. All right, so make sure to catch this video. Entirely, it's only 47 minutes long. That ain't long. Really good information in this video.
Yep.
Now, a lot of you guys know that throughout North America, Central America, South America, they have found many inscriptions, artifacts that they're saying resemble old world writings. And since they cannot tell you who the American Indians are, where they originated, they can't tell you that it wasn't American indigenous people that did all these petroglyphs and all these old world stone sculptures, tablets.
Yep.
What we're looking at right here, for example, this is the Redbird petroglyphs in Kentucky. Now, this rock art is not in its original place. We're going to read about why. And right here to the left, you guys can see a sign which is distinguishing a lot of the writing in here, supposedly. As you can see, one of them is first century Christian monogram. It says in Hebrew and Greek letters. It means Jesus Christ, Son of the Father, according to somebody, right? Then it says in Ogam Rebus. In the Gaelic language, it means the right hand of God. On the middle says sun disk and inscription of Ra, the Egyptian sun god. It's carved here by Nile mariners. It also says on the bottom Iberian Punic writing, Libyan style of Tunisia and Numidia. Glyphs as well, South Semitic glyphs, and a sun disk, the symbol of Ra. All this is found in this rock art, and there's actually more stuff in there that they're leaving out. They're saying about 8 or 9 different old world scripts or languages in this rock from Kentucky. Just a little bit more on this inscription. It says here, Rock Art of Kentucky by Freddie Coy Jr., Thomas C. Fuller, Larry C. Meadows, James L. Swagger. This book actually goes over many petroglyphs, inscriptions found throughout Kentucky, a lot of them showing old world similarities. For example, right here is showing you Mattingly Rock Shelter. The petroglyphs are in the inner facing portion of the boulder, all right? And then we're gonna go to a zoomed in version right here, the Mattingly petroglyphs. You can see like very similar runic, like to Viking writing. You know, some can say that. Then you got the Tar Spring Rock Shelter showing large sandstone slab bearing petroglyphs. And this is right here, sandstone slab bearing the Tar Springs petroglyphs. All right. Here's a composite drawing of the petroglyphs. So we go to the Redbird River petroglyphs, as we were just talking about. Now this is the rock before it actually fell into the highway we're going to read. This was its previous original location. So they put up a marker there, right, when they built this highway, and they try to say that this guy, this Chief Redbird, was the one who actually made the inscriptions, and that's totally false. Later on, they say, no, we didn't say that, but they clearly put it that the markings are attributed to him. So they are giving credit to him, trying to throw you off. We're going to read about that. It says, we first heard of this from Michael Hensley of Oneida, who, having been stimulated by a paper on Kentucky petroglyphs by one of us, visited the site and found the markings still clearly visible. At his invitation, we too examined the site and found the carvings on a vertical face of sandstone 16 feet above the road. And here they got a picture of it in its original location, okay? And again, this is the drawing they have right here. Drawing of the Redbird River petroglyphs. After inspecting the area, it appeared that Kentucky Highway 66 was graded to a lower level than the original ground surface. This was confirmed by Mr. Hensley, who told us that only a trail had existed previously. An estimate of the original surface would place the carvings at chest height. All right, so when they built the highway, they dug and brought the level down. So you used to be able to stand there and the rock would be right on your chest. Now, this is the part I wanted to go ahead and emphasize on this book. They admit that these carvings, right, these inscriptions were different from any of the previously reported Kentucky petroglyphs, very different, in that they were made up of sharply incised straight lines. No mention of Chief Redbird could be found in several early Kentucky histories published in the 19th century. Therefore, we contacted the Kentucky Historical Society and received the following letter. Wentworth, 1969. You will note that on our marker, we say that he was a legendary Cherokee Indian. There is much legend in the area, but very little of any specific nature, and no reliable dates are available. The only thing that we can do is guess that it occurred probably about 1780, 1800. That was when settlers were first coming into the area there, although they were very sparse. All right, so again, he just admitted in 1969, they made the whole thing up. They guessed when they made that marker, attributing it to this Cherokee. So again, they're admitting that they're guessing. They don't know, so they cannot tell you who really did it. They don't know, they're guessing. A series of well-preserved linear carvings on a sandstone ledge extending from the face of a small cliff in Clay County, Kentucky has been described. The antiquity of this petroglyph has not been established. They don't know how old it is. See, they cannot tell you it was made in the 1700s. But the legend concerning the origin has been alluded to. All right, the legend. All right, this is not Cherokee, this is actually old. But what happened is that on December 7th, 1994, the 50-ton stone bearing the petroglyphs fell from a sandstone cliff above the Redbird River onto the Kentucky Route 66. All right, in 94 it fell. So they actually moved it. It was transported to its present location in Rollins Stinson Park in Manchester, where it is roofed over and fenced. The original site was enrolled on the National Register of Historic Places. Under interpretations, it says a sign adjacent to the relocation stone in Manchester states that at least 8 Old World alphabets are engraved on it. These alphabets were extinct when Columbus arrived in the New World in 1492, so they didn't even have them around in Europe still. They were extinct already. That's how old these were. The alphabets are 1st century Greek and Hebrew, Old Libyan, Old Arabic, and Iberian Punic, which probably dates from the 9th century BC. Ogham, Germanic runes, and Tigfinagh, Numidian, are also on this stone. And again, you could just type in Redbird petroglyphs and you guys can find it yourself. And again, this is where they have it now. After it fell onto the highway, they moved it over here. And they're preserving it because they know it's old. Into the Ancient American Magazine. Again, this is volume 1, issue number 2. Says here the Elliott Pendant, a Celtic goddess in Maine. We're going to read this article right here. It says a few years ago, Walter Elliott of Grand Lake Stream, Maine, found a stone cyst that appears to be very old grave. Red ochre was present, and all other signs were also typical of the red paint culture, so common in the East. All right, the red ochre people, red paint people. Check out the video I have on them. except it had a few carved stone artifacts that appeared to be European origin. Photos of the cyst were distributed in hopes someone might help interpret the finds. Most important of these items is a slate spear point and a pendant. The slate is too soft to be a real weapon, so it obviously was a ritual object to be buried as a grave offering. One side portrays a bear with two spears in it. The other shows a bearded man wearing a tunic with one arm and one foot missing. It appears that the man killed the bear but lost his own life in so doing. Perhaps the cyst was his grave. It is covered with lines resembling Ogham writing, copies of which I sent to Burrell Dawson. He thought he detected a Celtic word signifying the act of striking. As it turned out, one line was natural seen in the rock, so it wasn't Ogham writing after all, and I had to withdraw Dawson's interpretation. The pendant is another matter. I was able to recognize its writing as Phoenician. Semitic languages read from right to left, so this clearly spells BNYW-TT. A side of the pendant portrays the all-seeing eye, a god of one of the best-known images in all iconography. We still use it on our dollar bill. The obverse features a human face sporting four rays under a moon. The moon was traditionally female, the well-known icon of Tanith or Tanith from Carthage, and was often shown with the same crescent over her head. All right, so this is the pendant they're talking about. As you guys can see, this is what they found here.
Yep.
The rays comprise the same icon modern artists used to represent the halo. Clearly, the pendant is dedicated to a European lunar goddess, Tanith, Diana, Artemis, etc. The pendant's BNYW so closely resembles the name of the Celtic goddess, it seems obvious that Bayanu is intended here. However, the phonetics are modified somewhat. The spelling means that the sound was B-on-O, as we might pronounce it, but more like Benyu. I'm not the first to claim that the Celtic Bainu is the same goddess as Tanith. Noted researcher Barry Fell, America BC, page 236, makes the same connection. He tells of a cave used as a temple in which was found a carving of Tanith cut into the natural rock. Beneath it appears the name Bin in Ogham letters. Fell speculates the Bayanu stems from an Indo-European root meaning she of the Joni. The Joni is the sanctus for the female sex organ, but in view of its spelling on the Elliot pendant, I like to offer a possible alternative. The word may be Semitic rather than Indo-European and means daughter in Semitic languages. The termination of ah signifies a female, while ben means son, so benah could be a proper word meaning daughter. Beth is Hebrew but also means house, indicating the function of homemaker for a woman. In earlier times, before the patriarchal system was imposed and women had full equality, benah was used instead of Beth. The son of Ben-Yu could just be a Celtic accent for benah. It is thrilling to realize that the object now known as the Elliot pendant once many centuries ago hung around the neck of a Celtic visitor to the shores of prehistoric America. All right, you guys hear that? So what if they're seeing it in reverse? What if we brought that over there? And there's another image. This is the back of the pendant, as you guys can see here. All right, with the eye, as they're seeing the all-seeing eye.
All right, my fault. So real quick, and for the real dismount, Breeze 3000. Oh yeah. Since we were just talking about Maine, right? How well it fits. Says here the rune stones of Spirit Pond, Maine. Says the author reports on his official investigation of inscriptions on 3 rune stones discovered in 1971 by Walter J. Elliott near Spirit Pond, Maine, USA. In determining the authenticity of the stones as Viking Age artifacts, 3 steps were involved: transcription of the runes, transliteration into Latin alphabet, and interpretation of the meaning of the inscriptions. The relationship of the runes as alphabetic symbols to the history of Scandinavian languages is outlined. Special problems of these inscriptions are discussed. The runes are not those used in the 11th or later centuries. Spelling and the use of runic numerals are inconsistent with runic inscribal practice. The grammatical form is unrecognizable as Old Norse, peculiarities relate directly to the Kensington, Kensington, stone inscription in Minnesota. Conclusion: inscription could not have been carved by Scandinavian Vikings in the Middle Ages. So they're trying to disprove it. All right, but I still wanted to show you guys this article. So let me show you the images. So again, just because it doesn't match their modern, this is the irony behind this one. It doesn't match their modern. This is a more older form. We already got it from Barry Fell, the epigraphical experts and all his people that do the real research on this. So he's trying to show the modern ones, and then let me show you the image of the spirit pond. There we go. That's one of them. There's a couple of them. All right. So this is Spirit Pond Runestone 1, as they're calling it. And this is another one right here. So you guys can see the inscription. Just like a lot of the inscriptions we just saw in the video. All right. Again, an older form of what they're finding over there. So it's explaining why they come up with their conclusions, right? And there's another one right here. Runestone number 2. And then we got this big one right here. So of course, the people writing this is part of the Smithsonian and all that. They're not part of the Epigraphical Society. All right. And yeah, this is like a very old runic. Again, found here in Maine. In New England. Another part right here. So they have actual drawing of these. Let me show you guys. So below the pictures, there are 2 cryptic figures. So these are the drawings, right? Here you go. This is what's on the rock. All right, so dodge the hijack when they're saying it can't be from the Middle Ages. And maybe it's not from or people that came. Maybe you've been seeing it in reverse, and that's why you can't connect it. But this is what's on the rock right here. A lot of it looks very familiar to a lot of old world languages or script. So after all the different inscriptions we found all over the Americas, I mean, I got so many articles like this. I can do so many parts, and we are probably. But, you know, of course, you can see the similarities, and it's just too many being found all over the place. And of course, they always try to brush this off and say, oh, these are hoaxes or forgeries and stuff, and because it doesn't fit their conquest of discovery, their manifest destiny, right? Their whole invasion. So, okay, I just wanted to show you guys that, the Spirit Pond runes. If you guys want to follow up on that, the Spirit Pond runes. I just want to go ahead and thank everybody for joining me tonight. I appreciate everybody taking the time to do that on their Friday, all right, afternoon. If you're with your family, hope you have a great weekend and stuff. Be safe, be blessed, and all that. And I might come with a little Christmas special. Thinking about it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna go out just right, because it's Shabbat Shalom, right? Be blessed, be safe. Much love. Thanks for anybody that donated. Thank you, Jules. Appreciate that very much. Thank you so much for that. And anybody else. Thanks to the moderators. Anybody that if they got timed out, don't take it personal. It's just, you know, if somebody thought you might be going off topic too much, they might just timed you out real quick. It's not personal. Don't take it personal. And sometimes, you know, everybody's human. We might misinterpret things. So, you know, bear with us, and apologies if anything. And thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll give you your Friday back. I mean, what do you think? There's so many, so much inscriptions, right? When we're talking about people going into the Iberian Peninsula, and like all this matches with what we just read about Ireland and all that, because this is the people that supposedly wrote Ogham, the Iberian Celtic language, all that. So what is it doing here in the Americas? Come on, all over. What is it doing here all over? You got to address the elephant in the room, and that's what we're doing. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hey, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Hawaii, Hawaii. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on, guys. Let me get the let me get this ready real quick. All right, all right. So again, thank you for being here. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Pura vida. We're gonna go out with a little banger. We're gonna go out with a little banger, courtesy of the MC Kurimeo. Kurimeo. Yeah, Jahawa. Hawa. Yeah. Much love.
Después volverán los hijos de Israel, buscarán a Jaguá su creador y a David su rey, y temerán a Jaguá y a su bondad el fin de los días. Yahweh, kama yashadallah. Yahweh, heya, heya, heya. Yahweh, baraka yashadallah. Yahweh, heya, heya, heya. Sound of trumpets, wake up the nation. We breaking the spell, expose the false narration. This ain't religion, it's the sons of Jacob, blood relation. Rise the lions, take your place, it's your coronation. Babylon must fall, it's time for your liberation. We get our land back, there's no negotiation. These are stolen lands, this is Roman occupation. Come Yasharallah, no more separation. We're dreaming away, we're just passing our days. Living with no breaks, we just stuck in this phase. With no escape, while truth is in your face. We really need to wake up, you know, before it's too late. Mentira y engaño entre la historia bien contada. Consciente, no callo, mi lengua bien armada. Regarditos mi ancestro, herencia que fue robada. Entre comida esclavitud, nuestra cultura fue robada. Yahweh, kama yashadallah. Yahweh, heya, heya, heya. Yahweh, baraka yashadallah. Yahweh, heya, heya, heya. We gathered the saints, we ready for battle. I stay keeping the code, drop nation unrivaled. Digging through history, the truth we unravel. Dodging the hijack, no time for your babble. On the road to Zion, our ancestry decoding. Warriors but blood, don't be provoking. I be praising Allah, fringes under clothing. We're closer than ever, prophecies unfolding. Spreading the knowledge, these droppers returning the oceans. I'm riding with prophets, most high my devotion. Breaking the spell, propaganda, holy Roman. Many are being called, but few will actually be chosen. Mentira y engaño entre la historia bien contada. Consciente, no callo, mi lengua bien armada. Regarditos mi ancestro, herencia que fue robada. Entre comiendo esclavitud.